In a dimly lit chamber, a formidable devil towers over the one who summoned them, inquiring about their desire. With a piercing gaze, she declares that the cost will be something dear to them. The summoner gazes up in wonder at the powerful figure, complete with wings and a tail. A close-up captures the summoner's flushed cheeks, their eyes swirling with captivated admiration. The devil's vast ability to fulfill human dreams and desires is highlighted. The summoner's heart races, aware that the price for a wish might even be their own life. Noticing their uncertainty, the devil playfully asks if they've suddenly lost their voice. She decides to delve into their heart, her graceful hand reaching out. With swirling eyes, the summoner blurts out an unexpected and desperate marriage proposal. The devil is utterly taken aback, asking them to repeat their words. The scene transitions to a charming cottage, rewinding a few years back. A hand emerges from a patch of flowers, gently calling out for Theo. The small child, Theo, looks up with innocence, clutching a flower as his name is called. Described as a pitiful child, young Theo joyfully calls out to his grandparents. Abandoned by his biological parents, he was nurtured by a kind elderly couple. He became both a child and a grandchild to the couple who had no offspring. However, this blissful period was not meant to last indefinitely. His guardians passed away before he reached adulthood, leaving him to grieve at their graves. His expression is one of deep, heart-wrenching sorrow as tears flow down his face. He promises his lost guardians that he will strive to survive on his own. In this world, strength is essential to vanquish monsters and earn a living. A view of the town emphasizes that money is crucial for survival. At just 12 years old, alone and orphaned, Theo knew no other place would employ him. With no alternatives, he joined the mercenary guild focused on monster hunting. A brutish adventurer yells at him, furious over his slow pace during a mission. He can only manage a meek, downcast apology for his perceived shortcomings. Unable to fight, Theo mainly served as a baggage handler for other mercenaries. Despite being cast out from parties, he remained thankful for any work he could secure. An adventurer cruelly interrogates him, demanding to know why he is so feeble. He forces a weak, hollow smile, unable to provide a genuine response to the insult. The inquiry about whether his parents taught him anything strikes a painful chord. As he trudges through the woods, Theo's thoughts confirm his painful truth. He is weak. Now 14, he clenches his fist in silent fury, enraged by the insults directed at his grandparents. After being expelled from adventuring groups more times than he can count, he reaches his breaking point. The very next day, he finds himself among the quiet, towering shelves of a library. Surrounded by books, he declares his new singular ambition, to become stronger. He realizes that to acquire true power, he must learn to wield magic himself. Recognizing his novice status, he opts to begin with older, forgotten tomes. As he flips through a dusty book, a folded paper slips out from its pages. He picks up the enigmatic paper, confusion etched on his face as he examines it. Unfolding the sheet reveals a complex magical circle titled Summoning Ritual. His eyes go blank as he reads the final shocking words about the devil. Utterly perplexed, he rests a hand on his chin, pondering what a devil truly is. His research shows that all texts depict the devil as the most unholy being. Seated at a library table, he confirms that every book labels the devil as evil. He discovers one consistent, tantalizing detail. It grants a wish, but demands something precious. The nature of the cost remains unclear, yet a spark of hope ignites within him. He feels excitement as he realizes his wish for strength might actually be attainable. Outside his home, he contemplates the surprisingly straightforward summoning method described. The ritual involves placing the paper on the ground and pouring blood into its center. Gathering his courage, he gets ready to pierce his finger with a tiny, sharp blade. A solitary drop of blood lands on the circle. The pain? A mere annoyance. An explosive flash sends him hurtling backward, a startled cry escaping his lips. A stunning horned woman appears, and he can't help but think she looks divine. He remembers the ancient texts only spoke of creatures with horns. The old writings also mentioned that this formidable being possessed wings. He's utterly stunned to find that the devil is actually a girl. He marvels, realizing this is the first time he's encountered someone so angelic. Next to her, he feels overwhelmed, his cheeks burning with flustered admiration. His long-held ambition for power is instantly overshadowed by a desperate wish. On his knees, he impulsively blurts out a sincere marriage proposal. In that fleeting moment, all he desires is for this devil girl to be his wife. He gazes up at her, his face a portrait of blushing, genuine affection. The devil looks down at him, her face a mix of complete confusion. In a cramped room, the tall, horned devil faces the blushing, speechless Theo. She skeptically asks if he truly understands the words he just spoke. With disbelief, she questions if he genuinely claims to have fallen in love at first sight. The devil explains that her appearance makes her a feared outcast among humans. She concludes that only a complete fool would ever propose to her. In a fervent declaration, Theo insists he truly fell in love at first glance. Taken aback by his certainty, the devil angrily accuses him of deceit. He fervently denies lying, recalling his grandfather's lesson about honesty. Scoffing at his words, she asserts that as a devil she can see into his heart. She reaches out, aiming to uncover any hidden schemes or lies. A close-up reveals Theo's wide, vulnerable eyes as she begins her scrutiny. Instead of deceit, she is overwhelmed by a wave of pure adoration from him. Once the inspection concludes, Theo collapses to the floor, leaving her in shock. Helvi panics internally, utterly perplexed by the adoring boy before her. She reflects that in her long existence, no one has ever worshipped her like this. Until now, every human who summoned her made wishes and then fled in terror. Though she never let any escape, their fear was a constant, predictable factor. This man, she realizes, is completely different, wanting to marry a devil like her. Utterly baffled by this unexpected turn, she clutches her head in confusion. Theo observes her distress, his own face flushed with a mix of emotions. With tears welling up, he apologizes, fearing his wish is unattainable. As she gazes at his tear-streaked face, an unfamiliar feeling stirs within her. Her heart races as she realizes with a jolt that she finds this mortal charming. Overwhelmed by this new emotion, she gasps, struggling to regain her breath. Regaining her composure, she asserts that there is no wish she cannot fulfill. Theo looks up, hope dawning on him. Maybe his wish isn't impossible after all. A blush of determination spreads across her cheeks as she makes her final choice. She declares that the contract is set. She will indeed marry him. Theo is left speechless, his face a canvas of pure, blushing astonishment. Overjoyed, he asks her to please take good care of him. Against all odds, a new couple emerges in that very moment. The scene transitions to the grand, imposing stone structure of the mercenary guild. Inside, a young woman in a beret stands with her back turned to the viewer. With a worried blush, the young receptionist wonders why he hasn't shown up today. The story introduces Fiore Leotard, a receptionist at the Mercenary Guild who starts her mornings very early. Her first task involves checking and organizing all the newly arrived requests. After that, she attaches the unfinished quest to the main board for mercenaries. Cleaning falls under her duties since the guild hall gets messy in no time. Even with her tasks, Fiore can't shake thoughts of someone she's waiting for. Worry etches her face as she realizes Theo-kun hasn't shown up at the guild today. She ponders what might have gone wrong. He's been a daily visitor for 2 years. A close-up captures her nostalgic look as she reminisces about the missing Theo-kun. She recalls asking the fragile 14-year-old why he chose to work at the guild. His heartbreaking tale of abandonment and losing his adoptive parents brings tears to her eyes. Due to his unclear background, the guild was the only place willing to employ him. Fury attempted to assign him safer tasks, but such opportunities were scarce. Yet Thea never let his situation bring him down. He always aimed to assist others. Her thoughts shift to anger, questioning when the scoundrels exploiting him will appear. She envisions the mercenaries who cruelly use him as a pack mule. They are depicted as constantly hurling verbal abuse at him. Fiore seethes, thinking they should at least show some appreciation for his efforts. It's unforgivable how they treat him like an object rather than a human being. After forcing him into grueling labor, they only hand him a fraction of the reward. Guild regulations stop her from meddling in a party's finances, which frustrates her. She admires Theo's courage. He never complains and is thankful for any payment. Fury overhears the mercenaries coldly remarking that he'd die quickly and no one would care. Her face reflects silent shock and deep concern. In the lively guild hall, she notices other adventurers glaring at the bullies with disdain. With a small, proud grin, she realizes Theo-kun must be quite well-liked. Her female colleagues express their disdain for the bullies and affection for Theo. One of them voices a wish to heal the diligent boy for all his hard work. The mention of healing ignites a more personal thought in Fiore's mind. She briefly imagines leaning over Theo and treating him kindly herself. Snapping back to reality, she chastises herself for such thoughts, knowing they're both inexperienced. Still flustered, she wonders again, What could have possibly happened to the silly Theo-kun? It's been 3 whole days since he was kicked out of his last party. While this can happen, she feels that 3 days is far too long for him to be missing. A voice announces their arrival at the Mercenaries Guild building. Upon hearing this, a young woman in a beret gasps, her face a picture of shock. A familiar dark-haired adventurer appears, confirming the woman's hopeful recognition. The receptionist, Fiore, beams and calls out to Theo-kun, waving enthusiastically. Her joy falters as she spots a new imposing figure standing next to him. The focus shifts to the elegant fur-lined cloak of the enigmatic newcomer. Fiore's expression changes to one of stunned confusion and deep, embarrassed blushing. The striking horned woman stands confidently, looking down at the bewildered Fury. Blushing and intimidated, Fiore wonders who this mysterious figure could possibly be. The scene rewinds to a little while earlier, outside a charming house. A deeply flushed Theo sits in stunned, awkward silence on his bed. Across from him, the horned woman, Helve, also sits in quiet reflection. Several minutes have passed since Theo's successful proposal, leaving them in a charged silence. Theo marvels at his new fiancée, while Helve worries about her lack of romantic experience. Lost in her thoughts, Helve contemplates what her next move should be. Suddenly, Theo stands up, startling a surprised Helve with his sudden action. He continues to gaze, his heart racing with joy at this new reality. His mind races, still questioning if marrying such a stunning woman is just a dream. Helve feels an overwhelming attraction to her new husband despite his lack of power. A flustered Theo finally breaks the silence to inquire about her name. Helve jumps, taken aback by his straightforward question. Caught in her own emotional whirlwind, she struggles to reply. She simply states her name, her gaze gentle and unwavering. Theo's natural upward glance is misread by Helve's unfiltered admiration. She curses her own flustered reaction to his innocent, admiring gaze. Overwhelmed by these unfamiliar feelings, she covers her face, feeling unhinged. Regaining her poise, she asks if Theo remembers her mentioning his name. She clarifies that upon sealing their pact, she learned everything about him. Theo exclaims in awe, finding her ability impressive despite its intrusive nature. He reflects on his own name, Theo Asper, now known to his new spouse. Helve begins to recount his history, describing his lonely existence as a weak mercenary. Her expression darkens as she remembers the faces of all the bullies. She asserts that any insult directed at him is an insult to her as his wife. The formidable devil, Helve, is utterly flustered by the term wife. Theo notices her sudden blush and odd behavior, asking what's wrong. Suddenly recalling his responsibilities, Theo jolts, declaring he must head to the guild. Helve feels a secret relief that he has successfully shifted the topic. As he readies his gear, Theo wonders how she knows such specific details about him. She proudly reveals it's because she is the devil, leaving Theo in awe. Helve graciously accepts his compliment with a simple, blushing thank you. Theo then asks if she will accompany him, thinking she might feel lonely. He worries her demonic appearance might attract too much attention in town. Acknowledging this, Helve decides to handle any strange looks later. In a flash of magic, an elegant cloak appears, concealing her demonic traits. Theo is left speechless, questioning how she could change so quickly. She reiterates that as the devil, such transformations are trivial for her. As Helve suggests they leave, a hesitant Theo agrees, calling her Helve's son. His uncertainty makes her pause, her gaze locked on him as she ponders his words. She faces him, her expression serious, as she prepares to discuss her name. Helve realizes she has never actually told Theo what her name is. Flustered, Theo asks if it's difficult for her and wants her to use his name. The request puts Helve on the spot, her fangs visible in her flustered state. Tension rises as they both seem to wait for the other to make a move. Helve glances at Theo, the pressure becoming nearly unbearable for her. She breaks down, pleading with him not to look so anxious about the situation. Helve relents and says his name, Theo, trying to encourage him. Ecstatic, Theo eagerly begs her to repeat his name once more. Completely overwhelmed, Helve shouts his name again, insisting that's enough. Theo's eyes shine with pure joy, his name resonating in his heart. He thanks her profusely, his face glowing with a radiant, tearful smile. Still blushing, Helve quickly states it's time for them to depart. Theo agrees, and they finally step outside, ready to begin their journey. Their adventure through the town streets commences, their steps in harmony. Helve's disguise works, yet her beauty still captures the attention of passers-by. People whisper in admiration, commenting on the stunning, fair-haired woman. Hearing their remarks, Theo glances at his wife, pride and happiness coloring his cheeks. A tall cloaked woman leads her smaller armored companion, who gazes up with a flustered, adoring blush. As they walk, Helvi's hand brushes against Theo's, prompting a soft sound from her. She internally panics, questioning why his hand feels so incredibly soft, perhaps even smoother than her own. Flustered, she hardly notices Theo, asking if they're on the right path to the guild. Blushing, Theo affirms they're headed correctly and acknowledges her distraction. Moments later, he takes her hand, prompting another soft gasp from her. Theo quickly apologizes for being so forward, fearing he startled her. She exhales a quiet sigh, overwhelmed, her cheeks flushed from the unexpected touch. Seeing her discomfort, Theo worries he was impolite, but she stutters that it's okay. Helvi turns away, attempting to regain her composure from the intense new sensation. Theo pauses briefly, trying to catch her attention. With a bright, disarming grin, he offers his hand, inviting her to hold it properly. Helvi is momentarily speechless, taken aback by his sincere and direct invitation. Hand in hand, they move forward, Theo cheerfully agreeing to go, while Helvi stays flustered. He cheerfully remarks on how warm and soft her hand feels, and she quietly concurs. Inside, Helvi wishes he would stop smiling. His genuine joy is making her blush furiously. Their journey wraps up as Theo proudly declares they've reached a large building. The heavy doors of the mercenary guild creak open before them. Theo excitedly points out the guild, but Helvi appears unimpressed by the sight. She notes that although this is her first physical visit, she's familiar with the place from Theo's memories. They enter a lively hall bustling with adventurers of all types. Helvi's keen eyes quickly scan the area, noting the counter and request board. Her gaze then fixes on a trio of adventurers, recognizing them with icy disdain. A close-up reveals her frosty glare as she identifies the men. The men chat among themselves, noticing Helvi, while she confirms they mean no harm. Deciding it's acceptable for now, she stays alert in case they make a move. Theo breaks her concentration, suggesting they head to the reception counter. Their boots echo on the floor as they navigate through the busy hall. Theo cheerfully calls out to the receptionist, Fiore, who is at the counter. Fiore, a young woman wearing a beret, looks up from her tasks. Helvi observes the interaction with a calm, slightly amused expression. Theo guides his new companion forward, smiling as he calls out to Fiore. Fiore looks up, her expression shifting to surprise at seeing Theo with someone. She warmly greets Theo before inquiring about his beautiful companion. The receptionist mentions she's known him for 2 years, but never met this girl. Helvi meets Fiore's curious gaze, a faint blush creeping onto her cheeks. Theo panics, realizing he has no way to explain that she's actually the devil. With a graceful motion, Helvi steps forward to take charge of the situation. She takes Fiore's hand, politely introducing herself as Helvi. Then, with a shy demeanor, she reveals that she is Theo's fiancée. The word lingers in the air, sending shockwaves of disbelief through the room. The entire reception area erupts in a chorus of shouts questioning the fiancé claim. Helvi asks if Fiore knew Theo was raised by an elderly couple. She smoothly explains that their parents arranged their engagement long ago. Theo is internally astonished by Helvi's skill in weaving such a convincing tale. Helvi apologizes for Theo forgetting about it, and Fiore accepts her explanation. The two women agree to use first names, much to Theo's relief. He lets out a quiet sigh, relieved that the tense situation has been diffused. He's glad that Fiore, who always looks out for him, is getting along with Helvi. A mocking voice from the crowd interrupts, ridiculing Theo for having a fiancé. Theo's expression drops as he recognizes the voice. The scarred adventurer Carl looms over him with a menacing proprietary grin. Carl and his crew mock Theo, insisting he's unworthy of such a stunning woman. Theo lowers his gaze, unable to face their hostile stares. The other female adventurers, hidden from the bully's view, glare at them with fierce animosity. Theo silently agrees with Carl, acknowledging that Helvi is beyond his reach. The bully slings a heavy arm around Theo's shoulder, pulling him in tightly. Carl leans in, whispering a disgusting suggestion about borrowing Helvi. Theo's eyes widen in sheer shock and horror. Carl attempts to exploit their history, proposing they start with just one night. Helvi notices his whispering, thinking she's out of earshot. But as a devil, her hearing is impeccable. She catches every word. Theo glances up, his expression filled with dread and concern for Helvi. For the first time in ages, a fierce killing intent stirs within Helvi. She recalls that her previous kills were businesslike, lacking any personal connection. Her anger isn't for herself. It's because they've insulted her beloved Theo. The vile words echo in her mind, igniting her fury. Theo stands frozen, horrified and trapped by the repulsive demand. Helvi reassures herself that her rage isn't about being violated. It's solely because they dare to insult the one she cherishes most. Her gaze turns icy as she vows to eliminate these despicable men. Carl keeps pressuring Theo, reminding him of all the favors they've done. Theo ponders the term favors, aware of their lopsided relationship. He remembers being too weak to refuse their tasks, even for meager rewards. This time, however, he resolves to change the narrative. With newfound determination, Theo clenches his fist. He bows deeply to the adventurers, offering a heartfelt apology. Straightening up, his expression firm, he states that he cannot comply. Carl is taken aback, his confident smirk replaced by disbelief. Theo insists he's serious, stating that he cannot allow their request. He thinks that while he's endured their abuse before, this is a line he won't cross. He knows that agreeing would bring unimaginable trouble to his wife, Helve. With a desperate shout, he proclaims that Helvi is his wife. His eyes widen, a mix of fear and unwavering determination. He concludes his passionate declaration, vowing never to surrender her. Carl erupts in rage, demanding to know who Theo thinks he is. He lunges forward, delivering a brutal, vicious kick at the defiant boy. Theo braces for impact, squeezing his eyes shut in anticipation. He raises his arms to shield his face, wincing as the blow lands. A sharp cry of pain reverberates through the guild hall. Theo remains tense, expecting pain that doesn't fully come. Opening his eyes, he looks down at himself, puzzled. He touches his chest, realizing with shock that he feels nothing. Looking up, he sees another adventurer, Cart San, has taken the hit for him. Carl lets out a blood-curdling scream of pure agony. He collapses, shrieking about his arm being broken, though it's actually his leg. Fiore and the other witnesses cover their mouths in utter disbelief. Carl's bald companion stares, his face a mask of horror and shock. Fiore stammers, confused about how it happened, but it was definitely Carl's doing. From the sidelines, Helvi beams with pride, internally praising her husband's bravery. A stunning long-haired woman named Helvi hugs a startled dark-haired youth named Theo from behind. Completely flustered by the sudden closeness, Theo exclaims Helvi's name in surprise. Leaning in, Helvi murmurs that his words genuinely delighted her, while Theo stutters about his own shortcomings. With a gentle touch, she places a gloved finger on Theo's lips, quieting his objections with a tender gesture. With a look full of adoration, Helvi tells Theo he has once again captured her heart. A flushed Theo gazes up, still feeling the warmth of her finger, softly whispering her name. Affectionately, Helvi brings his finger to her lips, planting a gentle kiss on it. Her eyes narrow, glinting with a predatory desire that intensifies in that moment. A close-up reveals her lips slightly parting, poised to act on her romantic urge. Internally, she gushes about how adorable he is and how much his words have thrilled her. Her focus sharpens on his wide, innocent pupils and his utterly captivating stare. Remembering the sensation of his lips against her finger, her longing grows even stronger. Her affection morphs into an insatiable craving. She admits she wants to devour him right now. She privately acknowledges that if they were alone in his home, she'd steal a kiss. A sudden realization halts her internal conflict for a brief moment. She wonders why she, a devil, should restrain herself from her own desires. Viewing him as a succulent, tempting fruit, she decides it would be foolish not to indulge. Just as she leans closer, a furious shout from Carl accuses her of wrongdoing. The injured adventurer, supported by his friends, insists that a brat like Theo couldn't have harmed him. Carl rages about how badly his arm is injured, placing the blame firmly on her. He yells at her to brace herself for his furious retaliation. His aggressive stance quickly crumbles into a terrified gasp of pure fear. Helvi towers over him, her expression concealed, but her menacing aura unmistakably powerful. With narrowed eyes, she issues a chilling warning to end him if he dares to speak again. The adventurer's face reflects shock and primal terror, his bravado completely vanished. He spins on his heel, his body language clearly indicating his intent to escape. As he frantically retreats, his friends call out his name, questioning his sudden departure. The guild receptionist observes the chaos, also calling for Carl to wait. With the threat gone, Theo turns to Helvi, beaming with gratitude as he thanks her. Helvi pulls Theo into another tight hug, catching him off guard with her sudden affection. Flustered and annoyed, she apologizes for interrupting their moment. She lets out a soft, exasperated sigh. her intimate moment now spoiled. She reflects that because of those fools, her rare opportunity slipped away. With a sultry gaze, she promises herself not to let the next chance pass her by. Inside the guild, receptionist Fiore watches the couple, her heart racing in her chest. A close-up of Fiore's eye reveals her surprise, deeply flustered. She is taken aback by the intimate closeness shared between Helvi and Theo. Fiore clasps her hands to her chest, her heart pounding with astonishment. Overwhelmed, she contemplates how shocked she is by this sudden turn of events. She is acutely aware of the incredibly close proximity among the three of them. Gazing up at the guild building, she expresses relief that the situation has been resolved. Back at her desk, Fiore cheerfully inquires about the type of quest Theo intends to undertake. Blushing slightly, Theo asks if there are any simple quests available today. Fiore rummages through papers, apologetically stating that there don't seem to be any. Theo's expression falls, murmuring his disappointment over the lack of suitable tasks. He apologizes, but Fiore insists frantically that it's not her fault. Helvi observes this interaction from the side, wearing a gentle, amused smile. Fiora muses that while Theo's fiancé surprises her, Theo himself remains just as he always was. Her thoughts shift to the fiancé as other girls eagerly approach Helvi. A group of receptionists excitedly surrounds Helvi, inquiring about her history with Theo. Fiore watches from her desk, noting how Helvi is completely engulfed by her colleagues. Helvi, slightly flustered, contemplates their request for adorable anecdotes from Theo's past. She shares a tale of young Theo being consoled by his grandmother after an accident. The receptionist burst into delighted squeals, proclaiming the story utterly charming. Embarrassed, Theo wonders how Helvi could know such a personal and awkward story. Helvi offers a small, assured smile, ready to reveal her special insight. She explains it's simply because it's her, hinting at a profound magical bond. She clarifies that their contract allowed her to access his fragmented memories. Theo sighs, mortified that everyone knows about that embarrassing incident. The receptionists, far from satisfied, eagerly demand even more mortifying stories. Theo appears deeply embarrassed by their relentless curiosity about his past. He turns to Charlie, attempting to steer the conversation away from himself. He inquires if there are any other quests he could undertake solo. Fury suggests a herb collection mission, but warns it's in a monster-ridden area. She concludes that it might be too challenging for Theo to handle alone. Theo looks disheartened, realizing even weak monsters could easily overpower him. He concedes that going solo would indeed be quite difficult for him. Helvi steps forward with a knowing grin, reminding him she's there to assist. Theo gazes up at her, his heart warmed by her thoughtful offer. Helvi asks playfully if there's any chance she'd let him go on a quest alone. He protests, insisting he can't put Helvi in such potential danger. His kindness makes Helvi's heart flutter, visibly touched by his concern. She clears her throat, trying to move past the emotional moment. With a proud grin, she claims she is, in a sense, the ultimate being. Theo accepts this, but internally questions her use of "in a sense." Fury points out that the reward remains the same, raising a financial issue. She clarifies that the reward for one adventure would need to be shared. Helvi brushes this off, saying it's not a concern since they share a bag. She explains that as a married couple, splitting the reward is no trouble. Fiore, flustered but understanding, agrees that this reasoning makes sense. She asks Helvi which quest they should tackle for the day. Helvi requests the toughest quest that can be completed in a single day. Furia is left utterly speechless, shocked by the audacious request. The scene descends into chaos as Helvi insists on her demand to the flustered receptionist. Fury asks if Helvi is truly certain about taking on such a challenging quest. Theo panics, shouting that they can't possibly attempt something like that alone. Helvi, however, remains unfazed, chuckling at Theo's frantic objections. The flustered receptionist scrambles to find a quest that fits Helvi's bold request. She presents a mission to subdue the chimera in the cave of the eastern forest. An imposing illustration depicts the fearsome creature, a blend of lion, goat, and snake. Helvi listens as the details reveal the town is seeking help from the country. Theo exclaims that they can't do it, as it's a monster of the highest caliber. Helvi scoffs, questioning if such a minor creature is truly their toughest quest. Theo and Fiore are left speechless, stunned by her casual dismissal of the legendary beast. Brushing it off with a wave, Helvi moves on from the topic. With a confident grin, she asks why they shouldn't just take on that quest. Fiore weakly tries to object, advising against it, but her words fall on deaf ears. Helvi ignores her, turning to leave and asking if they should head out now. She takes Theo's hand firmly, pulling him along with her. A wide-eyed Theo is dragged away, questioning if they are really going to face the Chimera. With a gentle, blushing smile, Helvi reassures him that everything will be all right. Taking Theo's hand, she confidently proclaims herself the ultimate being. The narrative shifts back to an ancient time when a gigantic beast dominated the land. In this age, fragile humans were overpowered by formidable demons, losing their homes. Humans had intelligence, yet it proved ineffective against such overwhelming force. Nevertheless, this very intelligence would ultimately guide them to a desperate answer. In their darkest hour, a human conducted a ritual to summon the devil. The summoner's desire was for the devil to eliminate all monsters, ensuring safety. Only a few days elapsed after this pivotal wish was granted. All monsters, even those dreaded by the gods, disappeared from existence. They were all eradicated by a specific devil, who turned out to be in good health. One creature, however, evaded annihilation due to being deemed too feeble. Now, this very creature lies dormant in a cave, startling Theo. Next to them stands Helvi, the ancient leader of the great monster eradication. The enormous sleeping creature is recognized as a legendary and fearsome chimera. Theo frantically whispers to Helvi, urging her to flee while the beast remains asleep. Helvi's keen reptilian gaze narrows, showing no sign of fear towards the creature. She coolly evaluates its size, estimating it to be about 10 meters in length. Finding the sight of the beast sleeping too unsettling, she opts to awaken it. A terrified Theo pleads with her not to rouse the perilous monster, but it's far too late. Helvi unleashes a wave of lethal intent. Her immense, terrifying power is aimed directly at the slumbering chimera. The chimera's eyes snap open, its slumber violently disrupted by her fierce aura. Its gaze widens in sheer, unfiltered terror at the figure before it. The beast emits a frantic roar, its body quaking with primal fear. A potent force surges from Helvi, targeting the now awakened monster. With a powerful blow, she sends the massive chimera staggering backward. The impact is colossal, hurling the large beast across the cavern floor. The resulting quake throws Theo off balance, causing them to stumble. Helvi calls out their name, realizing the cave is trembling from the force. She quickly catches the flustered Theo, inquiring if they are okay after the fall. Theo, still blushing and unsteady, stutters their gratitude for her swift rescue. They then shyly request to be released, which she obliges. Flushing, they begin to explain their delay at the guild. Their mouth opens as if to say more, but they hold back. Helvi leans closer, a gentle knowing expression on her face as she listens. Theo decides against it, feeling this place lacks the right atmosphere. Helvi advises caution, and they express their gratitude profusely. They gaze at her with admiration, softly calling her name. Theo then inquires what exactly she did to the chimera. She clarifies that she merely revealed her killing intent and created a barrier. From a distance, they observe the beast struggling to break free from its confinement. The chimera attempts to escape, but is repeatedly thwarted by an unseen barrier. Its efforts to crash into the walls or ceiling are utterly pointless. With no sound from the impacts, it resembles a bizarre, clumsy dance. Theo is in awe of her power, and she proudly asserts that it's because she's the strongest. Her expression hardens as she resolves that it's time to conclude the battle. With a simple flick of her wrist, she prepares her attack. A wicked scythe-like blade of energy forms from her outstretched arm. She swoops through the air towards the roaring, terrified chimera. In a heartbeat, the creature is cleanly decapitated, its head soaring through the air. She coolly remarks that she avoided any bloodshed simply because it would sting. Theo can only gawk, their eyes wide with disbelief and sheer wonder. They stutter in astonishment at the effortless show of might. It's hard to fathom how she took down the legendary chimera so swiftly. Healthy beams proclaiming it was a walk in the park for her. The thought of cake suddenly triggers a memory for her. She realizes she hasn't had a bite since arriving in this realm, startling Theo. She then inquires if Theo could whip up something to eat upon their return. Theo's face brightens, eagerly agreeing to prepare a meal for her. They cheerfully mention this is their first time cooking for anyone other than their grandparents. With a glowing, bashful smile, they promise to give it their all. Helvi asks about their food preferences, and they reply they enjoy meat and sweets. She concurs, saying she also has a sweet tooth and proposes dessert. A sly, knowing grin spreads across her face as she contemplates dessert. Leaning closer, she whispers that for dessert, she might just want Theo. She quickly pulls back, deciding to postpone that thought for now. Theo wonders if they should bring the whole corpse back with them. Helvi admits she's uncertain about how to dispose of it, but agrees it's a solid plan. With a confident wave, she asserts that it will be a simple task. The enormous headless chimera body starts to float effortlessly into the air. She playfully wiggles her fingers, showcasing her total control over the levitating corpse. She explains she can maneuver it with just her fingers. Theo is amazed. Pleased with her achievement, she asks if they should head back now. A thrilled and astonished Theo readily agrees to return to the town. Together they turn and start walking out of the cave. Meanwhile, chaos has erupted at the eastern gate of Nemophila. A soldier on watch duty spotted a gigantic monster approaching from a distance. Recognizing it as the fabled chimera, he alerted his comrades to prepare for battle. However, what appeared at the gate was the strange sight of a beheaded chimera. Trailing behind were a man and a woman, Theo and Helvi. One of the guards on the wall identifies the smaller figure as Theo. Inside the gatehouse, Theo questions why they are being detained. Surrounded by soldiers familiar with Theo, they aren't bound. They are merely being held while the kill is verified. Theo remains hopeful it will be resolved soon, but Helvi doubts the large guard presence. Helvi exhales a tired sigh, clearly growing impatient with the holdup. Theo is accustomed to such unfair treatment and seems unfazed. Helvi, on the other hand, is quite reluctant to be made to wait. Frustrated, she realizes this is delaying her promised meal from Theo. Her fierce glare terrifies the nearby guards, who whisper about her intimidating presence. Her threatening expression sends a wave of pure fear through the soldiers. The guards panic, pleading to switch shifts and escape her daunting aura. An officer barks at them to return to their posts, demanding an apology. Helvi senses someone else approaching, curious about who it might be. A stern man in ornate armor steps forward, offering a formal apology. He introduces himself as a commander, addressing Theo and Helvi by name. His expression is serious as he states he has a few questions for them. With an air of arrogance, he orders them to kneel, which Helvi finds pretentious. An immense unseen force crashes down, forcing the commander to his knees. A mustachioed commander struggles, sweat glistening on his face as he wonders what's happening. His unseen adversary, a woman with long hair, internally questions the strange situation. She discloses her ability to manipulate gravity, capable of turning them into mere stakes. The commander struggles as she modestly elaborates on her true power. Calmly seated, she instructs the soldiers to appreciate her restraint. Her demeanor shifts to icy as she declares she won't wait any longer. The commander grunts, unable to lift his head under the overwhelming force. Bent in pain, he trembles at the source of this astonishing power. With a swift snap of her delicate fingers, she releases her grip. The pressure disappears instantly, leaving the soldiers gasping in shock. The commander rises, realizing the suffocating weight has vanished. She presents him with a choice: kneel and speak, or have a chair brought. His expression hardens as he glares, making his choice clear. He barks an order for a chair, and a soldier nervously acknowledges it. Gripping his sore hips, he yells at his men to hurry with the chair. A young armored figure named Theo Stairs stands, face flushed with confusion. The healthy woman chuckles, finding Theo's flustered state quite charming. From an unseen vantage point, an apology is made for the earlier rudeness. At the table, the commander apologizes, and Helvi forgives him, with Theo agreeing. He formally introduces himself as Loro, commander of the Nemophila Army Corps. The young warrior brightly announces himself as Theo Asper. The elegant woman with pointed ears calmly states her name is Helve. Two guards breathe a sigh of relief, glad the tense moment has passed. Laurel turns to Theo, inquiring about rumors of their assistance to his soldiers. Panicking, Theo waves their hands, frantically denying any involvement with the sword. Laurel reveals he knows Theo assisted with the dreaded task of Monster Corpse disposal. Theo's expression darkens with dread, fearing punishment is imminent. Suddenly, the commander bursts into a hearty, disarming laugh. With a broad smile, he reassures Thea that he won't punish them. Instead, Laurel declares that the soldiers involved will face consequences. A flustered Theo attempts to take the blame, insisting they were asked to do it. Laurel calmly states he will take the responsibility instead, surprising Theo. The commander reassesses his view, seeing Theo as a kind, responsible individual. Helvi feels a surge of affection, finding Theo's anxious face endearing. She continues to swoon internally over her husband's charming reaction. Laurel sweats, recalling Helve's power and feeling uneasy in her presence. He clarifies that the punishment for his soldiers won't be overly severe. The punishment is revealed, a week of non-stop corpse cleanup. Theo exhales a quiet sigh of relief at the relatively light sentence. Lauro redirects the conversation back to the pressing issue at hand. He confirms that the creature they brought is definitely a chimera. Helve casually agrees, stating it's obvious just by looking at it. Laurel admits that the initial report was hard for him to accept. He speculates that Theo wasn't the one who defeated it, to which Theo nods. Laurel notes that, according to reports, even a goblin poses a challenge for Theo. His piercing gaze shifts directly to the formidable Helve. He directly asks her if she was the one who took down the monster. Helve calmly affirms with a simple yes. Suddenly, Theo puffs out their chest, declaring they were the one who defeated it. Laura is momentarily taken aback by the absurdly confident claim. A faint, amused smile tugs at Helve's lips at Theo's boast. She playfully asks Theo why they are only mentioning it now. Laurel notes the chimera's body shows no signs of a struggle. He describes the common strategy of first weakening such a massive beast. He adds that this strategy necessitates at least 12 soldiers encircling it. His findings show no injuries, it was simply decapitated. With a calm smile, he remarks that it wasn't even a battle. Laurel contemplates the chilling reality of her one-sided triumph. Theo jolts as he realizes Helve must have only tapped into a fraction of her strength. They shudder, imagining the fallout if she decided to unleash her full power. Lauro rises, formally conveying the town's appreciation for her bravery. He explains that the town faced dire peril while waiting for backup. He assures her that the kingdom will undoubtedly honor her with a medal. Helve ponders the medal offer, a blush creeping onto her cheeks. She reflects that in her realm, chimeras were deemed weak. Theo beams, exclaiming how amazing it is that Helve will receive a reward. Helve mentions she doesn't want to dampen Theo's spirits, but she has doubts. With a composed demeanor, she declines the medal, stating it's unnecessary. Theo is utterly shocked by her unexpected rejection. Helve clarifies that a medal would only complicate their situation. She explains it would bind her to fight in the kingdom's conflicts. Her gaze sharpens as she remembers similar fates of past contractors. The kingdom's accolades turn to scorn when a hero refuses to engage. An image of mounted knights appears, showing they'd be hunted as traitors. Helve gazes at Theo, her smile gentle yet resolute. Theo, moved by her words, looks at her with wide, innocent eyes. Together, they assert they don't require anything from the kingdom. Laurel absorbs her sobering tale, his expression grim with understanding. He suggests it would be wise to keep the incident hidden from the kingdom. Laurel nods in agreement, accepting her choice as very reasonable. Helve inquires if their business is finished so they can return home. With a firm gesture, Helve rises to conclude the meeting. As they approach the exit, she calls out to Theo. She asks what he would prefer as a reward instead of the medal. Leaning in, she cups her hand to her mouth to whisper. With a playful blush, she requests their home-cooked meals. She reminds Theo of the promise they made to her earlier. Theo is briefly stunned while Helve blushes with excitement. A bright, joyful smile spreads across Theo's face. They eagerly agree, vowing to pour their skills into the dish. As they depart, Lauro simply tells them to go ahead. Theo glances back at a blushing Helve, a knowing smile on his face. They turn and leave the room, leaving the guards behind. The door shuts, leaving the two guards to keep watch. One soldier grumbles, unable to believe Theo beat him to it. Later, a soldier is seen weeping while cleaning the monster's remains. The scene transitions to the outside of Theo's charming, rustic home. Theo pants, asking with hopeful, sparkling eyes how the food tastes. Helve is in ecstasy, declaring that the meal is absolutely delightful. A soothing flavor washes over her as Theo beams at her. A steaming bowl of meat and potato stew is proudly presented. Theo wipes the sweat from his brow, pleased with his efforts. From the kitchen, he shares his joy at her delight. He reveals it's a recipe passed down from his grandmother, packed with flavor. Helve savors the stew, proclaiming it's something she could eat every day. In this instant, her smile radiates the brightest joy she's ever felt. Helve halts her meal, noticing Theo has paused to gaze at her. His eyes are locked on her, filled with quiet contemplation. She inquires about his thoughts, but he brushes it off as nothing. A powerful realization strikes him. Helve is a true goddess. The purity of his thought hits her like a physical force. Lacking experience in romance, Theo speaks whatever comes to mind. Yet, Helvi has the gift of seeing straight into Theo's heart. She perceives his thoughts as entirely genuine and devoid of deceit. It's this very innocence that leaves a deep impact on her. His sincere, unblemished thought instantly overwhelms her. A charged silence envelops the blushing duo. Finally, a soft laugh breaks the weighty silence. Theo joins in, trying to suppress his own light laughter. Helvi bursts into laughter, the awkwardness fading between them. With the tension lifted, they cheerfully decide to resume their meal. Later, Helvi awkwardly tries to wash a dish using a sponge. She asks if she's doing it right, and Theo happily assures her. As a devil, washing dishes is a completely new venture for her. Beaming with pride, she wonders if she's getting the hang of it. With a warm smile, Theo confirms it feels like second nature. After finishing their chores, they unwind together on the sofa. Theo admits he feels tired, even though it's just noon. He confesses cooking is one reason, but the Chimera battle was exhausting. It took a toll on his mind, despite just having been there. He thought he was a goner when the Chimera spotted him. With concern, she offers to help alleviate his fatigue. He asks if she means a massage, which she confirms with a nod. Told to lie face down, he nervously settles onto the couch. He buries his face in the cushions, asking if this is correct. Helvi shifts, positioning herself by straddling his back to start. With a satisfied look, she says this position seems just right. Leaning in with a playful grin, she asks if she's too heavy. His face reddens as he insists, embarrassed, that he'll be fine. She gently corrects him, saying he should have just denied it. His flustered reaction amuses her, and she tells him not to fret. His naivety with women is what makes him genuinely endearing. Internally, she acknowledges using magic to lighten her weight. She simply wanted to witness his adorably flustered expression. The sight of his vulnerable back suddenly makes her blush. He innocently asks if she's about to start the massage. Startled, she snaps back to reality, confirming she will begin. She thinks it was a close call, barely resisting an impulse. She announces she'll roll up his clothes to start. His defenseless form makes her breathless, thinking how cute he is. His vulnerable back is so adorable, she feels she might faint. He glances back, innocently calling her name once again. Flustered once more, she hurriedly confirmed her intention to start. Regaining her composure, she declares it's time to begin. He nods in agreement as she mentions she's folding his clothes. Her graceful fingers glide toward his bare back. When her hand touches him, he jumps in surprise. A soft sigh escapes him as the massage commences. A soothing warmth radiates from behind him. He sighs in contentment, fully relaxing into the moment. Internally, she realizes she's manipulating his volatile energy. Lost in the sensation, he murmurs how wonderful it feels. She notes his lack of attention despite her stern warning. Soft moans escape both as the intimate massage goes on. He continues to sigh blissfully, enveloped in the pleasant sensation. She starts to sweat, her desire and frustration intensifying. Curious about his heavy breathing, she asks if he wants her to attack. The scene resembles a ravenous wolf eyeing a slumbering rabbit. Typically, the rabbit would be devoured instantly if the wolf had a motive. The wolf hesitates, puzzled by the rabbit's apparent carelessness. It wonders if the rabbit has a guardian or simply trusts it. The wolf contemplates whether the rabbit truly has complete faith in it. The idea of his trust fills her with overwhelming frustration. Now that trust is involved, she feels unable to attack him. The wild creature Helvi hesitates, her teeth clenched. The young rabbit Theo remains peacefully and defenselessly asleep. Theo stirs slightly, murmuring in his deep slumber. He rolls over completely, still lost in his dreams. Now he lies on his back, blissfully unaware. His movement shifts Helvi, landing her right next to him. Her lighter body shifts easily as he turns. His innocent face and lovely lips are now directly before her. Overcome by temptation, she yearns to capture his half-open lips. She becomes entirely lost in a giddy, infatuated daydream. Gently, she caresses the cheek of the sleeping young man. She imagines silencing his bewildered awakening with a kiss. Startled by her own wild thoughts, she snaps back to reality. Determined, she resolves to keep her dangerous impulses in check. Unable to resist, she finds herself softly stroking his hair. She admires his smooth skin and soft form, losing her grip. She can't hold back any longer, deciding this is too enticing. With a nervous gulp, she steels herself for her next move. Leaning over the sleeping Theo, she freezes mid-motion. A voice calls their names, sending her into a frenzy. Fiore peeks through the slightly ajar door, announcing her arrival. With a sudden jolt, she sits up straight in sheer panic. Fury enters the room, politely introducing herself. Her gaze lands on Healthy, calling out her name in greeting. She addresses both Helvi and the still slumbering Theo. Utterly bewildered, she takes in the bizarre scene before her. In a quiet room, a young woman named Fiore stands, observing as the horned Helvi lounges on a couch beside a sleeping Theo. A close-up reveals Fiore's face, her eyes wide with shock and confusion at the sight. Helvi casts a glance back, her face clearly showing annoyance mixed with a hint of embarrassment. Oblivious to the rising tension, Theo snoozes soundly on the couch. Fiora, her voice wavering, finally breaks the quiet to inquire about Helvi's actions. With a flustered grin, Helvi insists she's merely giving Theo a massage. Fiora remains skeptical, questioning the compromising position Helvi finds herself in. She argues that no matter how she views it, the situation seems dubious. Fiora elaborates on her observation. Helvi is sitting on Theo, touching him beneath his clothes. With a soft hum, Helvi decides to drop her flimsy excuse and tell the truth. She yells out in frustration, admitting she was attempting to assault the sleeping Theo. Fiora responds with equal fervor, urging Helvi not to take such a serious act lightly. Still blushing, Fiora demands to know why Helvi would do something like that while he sleeps. Helvi turns away, her expression softening as she cryptically states it's because he's Theo. This vague response only adds to Fiora's confusion, who thinks Helvi is failing to sound cool. Noticing Fiora's flustered demeanor, Helvi's expression shifts to one of calculation. Her sharp gaze locks onto Fiora as she inquires if she's inexperienced. Unfamiliar with the term, Fiora repeats it, her confusion clear. Helvi clarifies, bluntly asking if Fiora has ever been intimate with a man. Fiora's shocked reaction confirms Helvi's suspicions about her lack of experience. With an air of superiority, Helvi asserts that any seasoned lover would grasp the urge. Mortified, Fiora exclaims that she has no interest in understanding such feelings. As their argument continues, Helvi's hands resume stroking Theo's back. Fiora notices immediately, pleading with her to stop touching the sleeping boy. Helvi teasingly suggests that Fiora is simply unaware that this kind of fun exists. The word fun jolts Fiora, her face flushing with horrified realization. She clutches her dress, recalling conversations she overheard from her coworkers. She admits to herself that she is, at least mentally, aware of such intimate acts. Helvi brushes off her concerns, even suggesting the experience for a first time. Fiora protests, arguing it would be unfair for Theo's first time to happen while he sleeps. With a chuckle, Helvi questions what could possibly be unfair about the situation. She provocatively asks if Theo wouldn't enjoy her body. Standing firm, Fiora insists that Theo deserves a proper, conscious first experience. As Fiora makes her case, Helvi continues to caress the oblivious Theo. Suddenly, Fiora freezes, feeling something unexpectedly brush against her from behind. Her eyes widen in shock as she wonders what the sensation could possibly be. A deep, horrified blush spreads across her face as she begins to understand. She spins around to find Helvi standing right behind her, having moved in an instant. Fiora yelps in surprise, demanding to know when Helvi got so close. For the first time, Helvi appears flustered, stammering a denial. Fiora's suspicion grows, knowing Helvi's deep blush indicates something is amiss. Her face turns bright red as the full, mortifying realization dawns on her. She glances at Theo, sprawled on the couch, and understands what touched her. Fiora realizes the young rabbit she thought she was protecting is actually a wolf. She finally comprehends why Helvi panicked, suspecting a deeper reason for her embarrassment. With dawning certainty, she murmurs Helvi's name, confirming her suspicion. In a stunning twist, Fiora asks if this is, in fact, Helvi's first time. Helvi is left utterly speechless, sweating and blushing profusely. Her hands instinctively move to cover her own backside as she looks away in shame. The once assertive Helvi has fallen completely silent, her bluff called. Fiora feels a sense of triumphant justice, as if her arrow of truth has struck home. The tense silence is interrupted by a new voice attempting to wake someone. The calls intensify, slicing through the tense atmosphere. A voice shouts Theo's name, urging him to awaken from his dreams. Theo groans on the couch, starting to rouse from his deep slumber. His eyelids flutter before slowly parting, still bleary and unfocused. He jolts awake, memories of Helvi's horns lingering from a hazy dream. Looking around, he realizes with shock that night has already fallen. His face flushes as he struggles to recall the afternoon's events. A cry of disbelief escapes him, utterly confused by the lost hours. He remembers enjoying lunch and a soothing massage from Helvi before dozing off. He turns to his wife, inquiring about what transpired while he slept. Helvi calmly tells him he slept right through until evening. Now upright, Theo laments the wasted afternoon he could have used. He never anticipated sleeping the entire day, especially with no plans. He apologizes to Helby for dozing off and leaving her by herself. Helby reassures him, mentioning that Fiore had visited earlier. A brief image flashes of the smiling Fury holding a pile of books. Theo is taken aback, noting that Fiore typically visits only after work. Helby explains that Fiore came out of concern for their well-being. The realization that he caused someone worry leaves Theo feeling embarrassed. He resolves to apologize to Fiore for the trouble when she returns. With quiet resolve, he confirms his intention to make things right. Healthy mentions that Fiore will be back around dinner time. With a soft blush, she requests Theo to prepare enough food for 3. Theo's face brightens with joy as he eagerly agrees to the task. He declares he must rush to get the meal ready. Turning to Helby, he asks if there's anything she can assist with. She suggests that Helby can help with the simple job of chopping vegetables. With a cheerful smile, Helvia agrees, calling it an easy task. As she skillfully cracks an egg into a bowl, a thought strikes her. While they work side by side, Theo inquires about her conversation with Fiore. Helby gives a vague, blushing reply, saying they talked about various topics. Eventually, she reveals that Theo was their sole shared topic of discussion. Theo is puzzled, pointing out he only met Fiora properly that day. Healthy hesitates, pondering how to frame her answer. She draws a comparison to their own quick marriage, which occurred that same day. The memory of his impulsive love-at-first-sight proposal makes Theo cringe. In contrast, Helve recalls the moment with a fond, surprised expression. She lets out a small puff of air, her face showing amusement. She admits to having asked the other receptionists for their opinions on him. But Theo is unsettled by her frankness, finding her questions intimidating. He worries they might dislike him, but Helve reassures him of their positive impressions. Theo visibly relaxes, clutching his chest, relieved to hear the good news. Helve places a gloved hand on her chin, her thoughts turning serious. She notes that while Theo appears relieved, she feels a growing discomfort. She realizes many of the girls harbor feelings beyond mere good impressions. A flashback reveals Fury's shy confession about Theo's house being the only man's place she's visited. Helve's expression shifts to fierce determination as she claims Theo belongs to her. Oblivious, Theo simply asks what's wrong, unaware of her internal vow. In the kitchen, Helve quickly brushes off Theo's concerns, insisting nothing is wrong. Outside their charming stone home, 2 sharp knocks shatter the evening's tranquility. A radiant Theo cradles a bowl, his face glowing with a warm, inviting smile. Helve, with a slight blush, methodically chops vegetables, her demeanor calm and collected. A courteous voice announces a guest's arrival, calling from just outside the door. As he opens the door, Theo greets Fiore, the guild receptionist, who wishes him a pleasant evening. Fury smiles, noting that Theo appears to be fully awake now. Embarrassed, Theo stutters an apology for failing to report his completed quest. Fiore cheerfully reassures him, saying that rumors of his chimera victory confirmed he was safe. With a confident blush, Helve asserts she could never be defeated by such weaklings. Helve surprises Theo from behind, prompting him to exclaim her name in recognition. Fiore nervously chuckles at Helve's nonchalant dismissal of the fearsome chimera. The narrative mentions that Fur was absent during the chimera confrontation. She neither witnessed the hunt nor its aftermath. Consequently, Fiore remains entirely oblivious to Helve's overwhelming abilities. Even Theo, who was there, has yet to grasp the full extent of his wife's power. The trio gathers joyfully, with Helve suggesting it's time for dinner. Helve requests Theo to set the table, mentioning she needs to use the restroom. She steps out onto the porch, the door clicking shut behind her. With a serious look, she steels herself for what lies ahead. Surveying the town, she reflects that this time things will unfold differently. Her eyes shimmer with a dangerous glint as she contemplates clearing out the trash. So far, only the Chimera has witnessed the true depth of Helve's power. However, the narrator hints that more people are about to discover her strength. In a shadowy alley, a group of men has gathered with malicious intent. One man lewdly comments on the striking beauty of a particular woman. Another agrees, claiming he has never encountered such a stunning woman before. A third man lets out a sinister laugh, eagerly anticipating their success. A man with spiky white hair confirms she is as beautiful as the rumors suggested. These men are adventurers who once parted ways with Theo, fueled by jealousy. They find themselves captivated by Helve's ethereal beauty and can't accept her with Theo. Motivated by this obsession, they gathered in an alley near her home to abduct her. The spiky-haired leader inquires about their former party leader's name. A bald warrior grimly replies that the leader was named Carl. The leader asks if Carl is joining them, but learns he is injured. With a mocking laugh, the leader derides Carl for being hurt on such a night. The bald warrior internally scoffs, knowing the truth behind Carl's absence is more complex. In a flashback, a woman angrily demands that Carl take revenge on his assailant. Carl flinches at the bandage, insisting that retaliation is utterly impossible. He cries out that the girl who defeated him is not human and would surely kill him. Back in the alley, the bald warrior decides to keep Carl's humiliating defeat under wraps. Another thug grows restless, asking when they will finally ambush her. A slime man reveals he just spotted receptionist Fiore at Earthio's house. He licks his lips, suggesting they can now feast on 2 women instead of 1. The group erupts in cheers, their leader roaring that it's time to begin. Another adds that whoever kills Theo will earn the right to claim Helvi. As the group revels in their impending feast, a pair of heeled boots appears. A chilling voice slices through their celebration, declaring them annoying trash. Helvi stands before them, her expression frosty as she commands silence. Her mere presence seems to emanate a power that evolves differently from others. The bald thug is taken aback, sweating as he stutters in confusion. He demands to know how she got behind them, but the leader brushes off the question. The leader grins, claiming she has spared them the hassle of tracking her down. Helvi snaps her fingers, declaring she lacks the time to waste, altering the surroundings. The environment fractures, and they find themselves in an expansive rocky cave. Panic ensues among the thugs as they demand to know their location. Helvi coolly reveals that this used to be the lair of the Chimera. Her revelation sends chills through the group, who cry out in disbelief. One man screams in terror at the thought of being in a monster's domain. The leader attempts to reassure his men, though his own calm is faltering. He exclaims that he could have sworn the Chimera had been subdued. One of his men quickly chimes in, seeking comfort in the rumor. Another confirms he heard it was vanquished just that very day. Helvi chuckles softly, finding amusement in their panic. She reveals the shocking truth. She is the one who took down the Chimera. The leader can only gawk in disbelief, struggling to grasp her assertion. Noticing his bewilderment, Helvi offers to repeat herself just for him. With unwavering confidence, she reiterates that she defeated the beast. Panic ensues among the thugs as they demand to know their location. The leader tries to calm his men, though his own composure is clearly cracking. One of the men nervously laughs, pondering what they would do if the Chimera appeared. Helvi delivers the final shocking truth. She is the one who defeated the Chimera. The leader can only stare in disbelief, unable to process her claim. Seeing his confusion, Helvi offers to repeat herself just for him. With absolute confidence, she states again that she was the one who defeated the beast. A promotional image depicts Helvi holding a tiny Theo in her hands. The leader stammers, unable to believe she conquered the Chimera. He insists that the Chimera is a legendary beast, making her claim seem impossible. Helvi's patience wears thin, and she concedes that if he can't accept it, so be it. Her demeanor shifts to deadly as she raises a hand, commanding them to perish. The leader emits a confused sound, sensing something amiss behind him. A quick glance reveals a horrifying sight just beyond his view. The scene zeroes in on the leader's terrified, widening eye. He turns fully, his face a mask of shock and dawning horror. In an instant, every single one of his comrades has been decapitated. The leader's eyes widen, glistening with sweat and pure, unfiltered terror. He stumbles back, his mind shattered by the sudden massacre. He collapses to the ground, gazing up at his executioner. Helvi towers over him, her expression cold and calculating. She questions why she spared him, her voice laced with ice. She echoes his own vile words about killing Theo to claim her. With a dismissive sound, she prepares to deliver her verdict. She reflects that she never anticipated the words "kill Theo" would anger her so deeply. Her eye shines with a terrifying intensity as she contemplates this newfound fury. The terrified leader emits a choked sound of primal fear. He lies on the ground, utterly paralyzed by a terror that steals his breath. His face is a canvas of horror, a silent scream trapped in his throat. Helvi vows to show him a different kind of hell than the others. The scene abruptly shifts back to the serene exterior of Theo's house. A voice from within calls out Helvi's name, welcoming her home. With a bright and blushing smile, a young man named Theo warmly welcomes her back. Helvi acknowledges her arrival, greeting both him and a woman named Fiore. She apologizes, believing she left all the dinner tasks to Theo. Fiore chuckles, clarifying that Theo handled most of it himself with her assistance. Intrigued by the dish, Helvi inquires about the tasty meal Theo has prepared. He proudly showcases a stunning, steaming Hamburg steak as the evening's highlight. Theo shares he crafted his finest meat dish, knowing it was her favorite. With eager anticipation, Helvi gets ready to savor the meal before her. A close-up captures her as she takes her very first deliberate bite. The rich taste envelops her in pure joy as she chews contentedly. She swallows the delightful morsel, a nervous thrill evident in her stance. Theo observes her closely, anxiously seeking her thoughts on the dish. Suddenly, her face lights up with a broad, genuine smile. With heartfelt enthusiasm, she proclaims the meal a true work of art. Fiore takes a bite as well, quietly affirming its deliciousness. Blushing warmly, she compliments Theo on his wonderful cooking. Ecstatic, they ask if she genuinely means it, thrilled by the praise. As Theo turns away, Fiora blushes, averting her gaze from the group. She sighs, completely overwhelmed, thinking about how adorable Theo is. Placing a hand on her chest, she attempts to steady her racing heart. A dark-haired friend commends Fiore for not choking on his charming smile. Her friend then glances at the composed Helvi with a curious expression. Helvi continues to eat calmly, seemingly unaffected by Theo's charm. The friend wonders if Helvi feels anything at all in response to his smile. She muses that it would be a shame if Helvi couldn't appreciate his cuteness. Fiore agrees, adding that missing out on his smile would be a loss. A sharp inner voice suddenly counters that this isn't true at all. The thought that he is undeniably adorable echoes in Fiora's mind. This unexpected psychic intrusion causes her to choke in shock. Panicking and gasping, she wonders about the origin of the voice in her head. Her friend offers water, but Fiore frantically waves her hands, insisting she's fine. She nervously glances toward the likely source of the mysterious voice. Helvi looks back, a faint blush on her cheeks, asking if Fiore is all right. Completely flustered, Fiore brushes off the incident, claiming it was nothing. She tries to rationalize what happened, hoping she just imagined Helvi's voice. The voice returns, telepathically assuring her that she wasn't imagining it. Helvi reveals she is communicating directly into Fiore's mind, shocking her. Throughout this exchange, Helvi continues her meal with serene contentment. She explains this is possible because she is, in fact, the ultimate being. A wider shot shows the two engaged in a secret telepathic chat at the table. From an outside view, Fiore simply appears to be quietly enjoying her meal. Helvi also seems to be relishing the delicious food in front of her. Their oblivious friend smiles, completely unaware of the mental drama unfolding. The friend playfully teases Fiore about her adorable expression, flipping her own words back. Helvi mentally reminds Fiore that she was the one who first called him adorable. Fiore internally protests that she only thought it, not saying it out loud. Theo beams, delighted that his friends seem captivated by his cooking. He joyfully announces that it was a truly wonderful meal for everyone. Standing up, Theo declares he has also prepared a dessert. He reminds Helvi that she loves sweet treats, instantly sparking her interest. He reveals he made pudding, even preparing some for Fiore, who is thrilled. Helvi presents 2 steaming cups of dessert, inviting them to enjoy. As Theo volunteers to handle the dishes, Helvi questions if he left any for himself. She gently halts him, insisting that the dishes can wait. With a shy smile, she shares that they should enjoy their meal together. Moved by her thoughtfulness, Theo expresses his gratitude for her kind words. Helvi responds that she should be the one expressing thanks, and they share a hearty laugh. Fiore observes their sweet interaction from her seat, a nostalgic expression on her face. She sighs, feeling inadequate compared to a longtime fiancé. Their friend remarks on how fortunate Theo is to marry someone so lovely. Theo declares that the pudding is the most extraordinary dessert he's ever tasted. While Fiore calls it an exaggeration, Theo insists it's the best he's ever had. Blushing at the compliment, Helvi insists she's only speaking the truth. Fiore offers her heartfelt thanks to Theo for the truly exquisite dessert. Overwhelmed by the praise, Theo stammers his thanks, clearly flustered. After finishing their meal, the group unwinds with steaming hot drinks in hand. The friend inquires about Fiore's plans for the rest of the evening. She wonders if Fiora will be staying over, given the late hour. Fiore hesitates, admitting that under normal circumstances, she would stay. She clarifies that they don't share a room and Theo isn't aware of her feelings. A faint blush hints that her feelings on the subject are more complicated. A flashback reveals her anxiety whenever she has to stay at his place. She remembers being unable to sleep until she confirmed Theo was asleep first. Peeking into his room to see him sleeping peacefully always brought her comfort. This habit often led to her guildmates teasing her about it the following day. However, she acknowledges that now Theo has a beautiful bride named Helvi. Helvi, having caught her thoughts, closes her eyes in quiet, blushing understanding. She declares she will walk Fiore home, surprising the other two girls. With a knowing glance, Helvi adds that tidying up is an important task for Theo. Theo agrees, asking Helvi to take good care of Fiore on her way back. A flustered Fiore can only nod, assuring Helvi she can count on her. Outside, Fiore thanks Theo for the delightful meal as he waves them goodbye. The two women's heeled boots click on the path as they start their walk. They navigate through the dark woods, the atmosphere calm and reflective. Fiore appears troubled, pausing before she finally decides to speak up. She calls out to Helvi, who turns with a smile, asking what's wrong. Fiore admits she was unaware of the engagement and has stayed over frequently. Helvi calmly responds with a smile, indicating she already knew this. This revelation sends Fiore into a flustered, comical panic. She apologizes repeatedly, promising never to stay over again, but Helvi just laughs. Helvi reassures her that it's perfectly fine and she doesn't mind her visits. Fiore is taken aback, asking if it's truly okay with her. She admits she thought Helvi would prohibit any other women from the house. Helvi reminds her she shows no mercy to anyone who would harm Theo. The veiled threat alludes to a past incident that Fiore understands well. Fiore then expresses curiosity about a witnessed attempted kiss. Mortified by the memory, Helvi stomps ahead, eager to change the topic. Catching up, Helvi concedes that since Fiore is a friend of Theo, it's acceptable. With a warm smile, she encourages Fiore to keep being kind to him. Relieved, Fiore thanks her face flushed but pleased with the outcome. Leaning in close, Helvi issues a chilling warning to a startled Fiore about making a move on Theo. From outside a house at night, a soft, indistinct sound can be heard. On the dimly lit street, Helvi assures Fiore she can manage the journey home from here. Fiore stands still, her lace-up boots unmoving as she ponders one last inquiry. With a worried expression, she inquires if she can continue staying at Theo's place. Helvi turns, her smile warm, affirming that staying is absolutely fine. Perplexed, Fiore questions why she can't stay over tonight. A mysterious giggle escapes Helvi, leaving Fiore utterly baffled by her response. Helvi hints that Fiore might be oblivious to the situation, but her friend remains puzzled. With a bright laugh, Helvi joyfully reveals that she and Theo tied the knot that very day. Her eyes narrow playfully as she asks if Fiore grasps the significance of this news. Fiore's naive gaze shows her confusion, prompting her to ask what her friend means. Touching her lips, Helvi blushes, realizing Fiore genuinely doesn't understand. She playfully pats Fiore's head, treating her like a child, much to Fiore's surprise. As she walks away, Helvi reminds her they got married today, making Fiore think. Fiore whispers to herself, finally starting to grasp the true meaning behind it all. A close-up captures Helvi's confident, blushing profile as she prepares for her big reveal. With a sultry look, she boldly states that tonight marks their wedding night. Her flushed, confident face fills the frame as she utters those words. Fiore's expression twists in shock as the phrase wedding night finally sinks in. The chapter title page features a flustered Fiore facing a self-assured, smiling Helvi. A volume cover shows Helvi cradling a small, doll-like Theo in her lap. Helvi cheerfully explains that such a sacred and special night should remain undisturbed. Fiore's mind spins as she stutters the words first night, drenched in a panic sweat. Her eyes swirl dizzily as she laments having to leave for such a proper reason. Helvi apologizes, clarifying that this is why she can't let Fiore stay over. With swirling eyes, a completely flustered Fiore insists that the arrangement is acceptable. Leaning closer, Helvi promises that by tomorrow she will be a different person. Fiore clenches her fists, awkwardly shouting a mortified wish for them to enjoy themselves. With a final knowing glance, Helvi bids Fiore goodnight. She strolls down the path, telling Fiore she'll see her tomorrow. Still blushing and overwhelmed, Fiore manages a weak, stammered yes in response. She observes Helvi's retreating figure, her body language revealing her utter fatigue. Helvi approaches the house, a soft sound of relief escaping her lips. From inside, a cheerful voice welcomes Helvi back home. Theo stands at the door, a bright, inviting smile lighting up his face. Blushing slightly, Helvi announces her arrival to the waiting Theo. Inside, Theo reassures Helvi that he's almost tidied up and doesn't need assistance. A close-up reveals Theo's happy, blushing face as he completes his last task. He touches his cheek, his expression shifting to one of gentle concern. He moves closer to Helvi, asking her what's wrong with a worried look. Theo's face flushes as Helvi touches him, concern evident in his gaze. He explains he was merely wiping her wet cheek, apologizing for the abruptness. Theo smiles, thanking her for her concern and finally understanding the reason. Flustered, Helvi realizes she was sweating from excitement and hadn't even noticed. She looks away, blushing, while Theo watches her with a questioning expression. Theo announces he'll go heat the bath, asking her to wait a moment. Left alone in the room, Helvi sighs heavily. Her earlier confidence vanished. She panics, wondering how she should possibly break the ice for their first night. Her thoughts race about what a first night means for both involved. She pauses, suddenly questioning if this is also a first for Theo. While it's clearly a first for her, she realizes there's no guarantee for Theo. Deep down, she knows she'd be utterly crushed if it weren't his first time. She resolves to recall the information she collected about him during their contract. A montage of memories reveals Theo's experiences are innocent and untainted. Relief floods her as she reassures herself of his purity. She figures any past experiences would have been memorable for him. Yet her relief is fleeting as a new, unforeseen issue arises. Theo Asper's profile confirms he's just a kid, only 14 years old. She chuckles, realizing he knows next to nothing about intimacy. He doesn't even grasp his own body's changes or his first release. She finds herself lost in thoughts about him. She sighs, never expecting Theo to be so utterly naive on the subject. While she possesses knowledge, he lacks both understanding and experience. It seems impossible for two such individuals to have a proper first night. A bead of sweat trickles down her face as she contemplates the daunting task. Her expression hardens, determination setting in as she makes a choice. Theo comes back from the bathroom, cheerfully announcing the bath is ready. With sudden intensity, Helvi grabs Theo's hand, startling him. She proclaims they are going to study, leaving him blushing in confusion. She instructs the flustered Theo to take a seat on the couch. Theo asks what they're studying, but she assures him he'll understand soon. Despite her words, uncertainty creeps in about what to do next. Healthy pacing, she fidgets, unsure where to even start her lesson. Taking a deep breath, she faces Theo, her expression serious yet flushed. She asks her first question, does he know how babies are made? Theo is taken aback, stammering in shock at the mention of babies. He squirms on the couch, his hands nervously fidgeting in his lap. Helvi stares, mouth agape, eagerly awaiting his response. His adorable reaction makes her breath hitch, but she stays focused. She wonders if his reaction indicates he actually knows something. Theo explains that a stork brings a baby after a couple kisses for 10 months. Helvi is left speechless, repeating stork in disbelief. She's floored that he genuinely believes in such a childish myth. A close-up reveals her blissful, dazed expression as she watches him. She's comically aghast at the monumental educational task ahead. Mentally escaping reality, she's captivated by his shy glances at her lips. Theo exclaims in shock, questioning if babies really don't come from a kiss. He frantically asks how babies are actually made if he's mistaken. Helvi resolves to teach him, seeing it as essential for their married life. She begins her explanation, calling his name to grab his full attention. The lesson starts by describing what happens between a boy and a girl. Theo is shocked and blushing to learn it involves being naked and hugging. He tightly shuts his eyes, protesting that the idea is too embarrassing. Despite his embarrassment, curiosity drives him to ask what goes where. The full realization hits him hard, leaving him dizzy with shock. Helvi pants, overwhelmed by how utterly adorable his panicked reaction is. She tells herself it would be cruel to overwhelm him in this state. Yet his cuteness is pushing her past the point of no return. Theo sits dejectedly, feeling a strange chill when their eyes lock. A close-up reveals Helvi's eye, her breath coming in ragged, flustered pants. Her composure shatters as she stammers, questioning what is happening. Next to a blushing Theo, she realizes her actions have been more risque than wifely. She grips her head, repeating to herself that they are indeed a married couple. With a sigh, she recalls her hope to consummate their marriage that very night. Noticing Theo's ongoing embarrassment, she realizes things are more complex than she imagined. A gentle smile spreads across her face as she accepts her plan won't work tonight. She decides it's unfair to pressure Theo while he's still reeling from the revelation. A serene smile graces her features, content for now just being his adorable husband. Thinking back on their whirlwind marriage, she acknowledges it was a spur-of-the-moment choice. She feels joy in her impulsive decision, realizing it allowed her to offer herself to him. She resolves to wait for Theo's heart to be ready, knowing they have forever ahead. A quick look shows Theo is still lost in his own mortified thoughts. Meanwhile, Theo hides his face, whimpering at the thought of being naked with her. His innocent shyness sends another wave of adoration through the observing hell. Her face brightens with a goofy grin, thinking he's just too adorable. She happily realizes she'll get to see him act this adorably shy for weeks. With a chuckle, she asks the still flustered Theo if he's feeling okay. He stutters a weak affirmation, still unable to gather himself or meet her gaze. Internally, he admits he's not all right, overwhelmed by a deep sense of embarrassment. The mortification is so strong that he can't even bear to look at her. This display of pure shyness strikes her as overwhelmingly cute once more. Her resolve falters as she fights the urge to leap at him right then. She marvels that Theo is the only one who can disrupt her supposedly immune spirit. Clearing her throat, she declares her intention to sleep for the night. Theo reminds her he has prepared a bath, asking if she'd like to join. She tells him to take this time to gather himself so he can look at her again. With that, she turns and walks toward the bathroom, leaving Theo flustered. For the healthy devil, bathing is more of a luxury than a necessity. Her body remains eternally pure, never truly tainted by dirt. Even drenched in blood, she could easily cleanse herself with a simple spell. Still, she genuinely enjoys the simple pleasure of a warm bath, finding it just right. She doesn't need to undress manually, her clothes vanish with her will. With a magical snap, Helvi's elaborate dark robes disappear into thin air. Now completely nude, her impressive horns on display, she prepares for her bath. She gracefully dips a toe into the steaming water, testing its inviting warmth. Her slender legs enter the tub, creating gentle ripples across the surface. Closing her eyes in bliss, she fully immerses herself in the soothing sensation. Sinking into the tub, she lets out a satisfied sigh, appreciating the wonderful heat. A pleasant thought strikes her as she realizes she and Theo enjoy the same warmth. This small shared preference feels like a sign of their growing connection. Overwhelmed by emotion, she covers her face with her wet hands. This simple bond makes her feel like the happiest woman alive. She dreams of bathing with Theo, deciding they'll need a bigger tub. Theo panics, realizing Helvia is naked and that he must see her to have children. Now in lingerie, she hopes her premeditated act will make him more aware of her. She calls out to the still flustered Theo, who sits stiffly on the couch. Announcing she's done, she tells him the bath was lovely, and he stutters his agreement. With a flustered expression, he declares it's his turn for the bath now. With a confident, sultry look, she watches him hastily retreat from the room. Mortified, he shouts his intention to bathe now, fleeing from her presence. Her superior demonic vision catches a crucial detail in that fleeting moment. As he pivots, she catches the unmistakable and shocking sign of his excitement. She observes him departing, her thoughts blank from the sudden realization. Now on the couch, she sits in silence, struggling to comprehend what she witnessed. In utter disbelief, all she can manage is a stunned silence. Ecstatic shock hits her as she realizes Theo's wild thoughts, finding him endearing. Overwhelmed with joy, she thrashes on the couch, hugging a pillow in a frenzy. Leaving such a tempting fruit untouched feels like a unique form of torture. Even though she decided to wait, Theo's scent on the pillow makes it impossible to resist. She admits that exercising this kind of self-control is simply too hard for her. Worried she'll act on her impulses, she resolves to find a way to relieve her feelings. Fresh from his bath, a flustered Theo breathes heavily, a towel draped over his shoulder. Blushing and sweating, he apologizes for the delay, avoiding her gaze. She observes him, her own cheeks reddening as he dabs his neck with the towel. Internally, she scolds herself for leading him on, overwhelmed by intense desire. In a room thick with post-bath tension, Helvi grapples with her overwhelming longing. His complete unawareness of her advances only makes him more irresistibly charming. The innocent allure radiating from him is a powerful, unintended form of seduction. With a nervous gulp, she acknowledges that she can't take it any longer. Now clad in enticing lingerie, she closes the gap between herself and the boy. Standing before Theo, the air thickens with unspoken anticipation and desire. Theo, blissfully unaware, misreads her tension and asks if she's feeling okay. Ignoring his inquiry, she softly utters his name, her voice low and purposeful. With a sudden decisive motion, her hand reaches out to grip his shoulder firmly. Leaning in closely, she boldly proposes that they share a kiss. Completely taken aback, Theo can only stammer a confused agreement to her request. Still blushing intensely, Helvi affirms her strong desire for a kiss between them. The suggestion sends Theo's mind spiraling into a dizzying confusion. Seeking his approval, she gently asks if it would be okay for them to continue. She begins to reassure him, starting to explain the realities of life and children. Holding his shoulder, she gives him her complete assurance that a kiss is safe. With childlike sincerity, he asks if the stork will really not bring them a baby. Her response is a simple, firm denial, shattering his long-held innocent belief. A gentle yet firm hand comes up to cradle his face, preparing him for the moment. Pressing him against the cold stone wall, she repeats her final reassurance. A fleeting thought crosses her mind about how the guild receptionists would gossip. He too imagines the commotion the receptionist would create if they witnessed this. Her thumb softly caresses his chin, tilting his face upward to meet her intense gaze. In the final moment of anticipation, she asks if he is ready for what follows. A look of steely resolve flashes in her eyes, her decision now unchangeable. With a shy blush, he poses the question that alters everything. Does she want to kiss him? The finality in her gaze reveals her answer before her lips can even part. With his unspoken consent granted, their lips meet in a deep, passionate kiss. The intimacy of their embrace deepens as muffled sounds of pleasure fill the air. Pressed tightly against the wall, they lose themselves in the heated, breathless moment. Mid-kiss, she steals a quick, affectionate glance at his blushing, innocent face. Her mind swirls with adoration for his cute, tightly shut eyes and soft lips. She marvels at the adorable, panicked way he gasps for air through his mouth. Panting and flushed, the horned woman laments her excessive enthusiasm, thinking the situation is dire. After an intense kiss, a dazed Theo lets out a soft, breathy sound. Helvi misreads his daze, believing she hears a voice still unsatisfied with their encounter. Leaning in, she playfully questions if he genuinely wants to be overwhelmed by her. She tells the breathless Theo to inhale through his nose to help him endure. Their lips connect in a passionate kiss, a soft sigh escaping from Theo. In the moment, Helvi whispers to herself how incredibly delightful it feels. It hits her. His breath is just as sweet as his kiss. Pressing closer, she relishes the exquisite taste, overwhelmed by desire. Theo emits a muffled gasp as the fervent kiss continues without pause. The kiss intensifies, their faces slick with sweat as they lose themselves. Another muffled sound escapes Theo as Helvi continues her gentle, passionate onslaught. Holding him tightly, she pants heavily, completely engulfed by her emotions. Her passion transforms into a primal urge to consume him right there. A close-up reveals their bodies pressed together, glistening with sweat from the heat. Breathless, her mouth slightly ajar, she's lost in the aftermath of their kisses. Equally breathless, Theo pants, his face flushed from the intense encounter. Dazed, he wonders how many minutes, or even dozens, have slipped by. With captivated eyes, Theo whispers Helvi's name, completely under her spell. His swirling, dazed eyes strike Helvi as unbearably cute and enchanting. She realizes his gaze invites more, fearing she might lose control. Pulling back slightly, she inquires how Theo feels about their heated kisses. Theo stumbles over his words, his face reddening as he hesitates to respond. He shyly admits the kisses were truly amazing, fidgeting with his hands. Helvi finds his adorable demeanor overwhelming, internally urging herself to hold back. Turning away, she suggests it's time for them to get some rest. Helvi reminds him he needs to be at the Mercenary Guild early tomorrow. She offers him the dusty spare room, which he accepts with hesitation. As she turns her back, she vows to clean the room instantly with magic. Internally, she panics, knowing she must escape before losing her self-control. A small hand grips the back of her dress, halting her departure. Startled, she turns to ask what's wrong as Theo stammers nervously. Theo's hand gently tugs at the black fabric of her dress. Looking down, he apologizes, confessing he suddenly felt lonely and reached for her. His innocent admission shatters her composure, sending shockwaves through her. She panics, thinking her heart has stopped and she might actually perish. Her hand softly caresses Theo's chin, lifting his face to meet her eyes. She plants a gentle, reassuring kiss on his lips, a soft blush coloring her cheeks. With a bright smile, she asks if he'll be okay after her affection. Completely flustered, he stammers incoherently, unable to find the right words. Looking up at her with sincere eyes, he begs for one more kiss. The next morning, Theo jolts awake in a panic, realizing he overslept. He rushes around the house, declaring he must hurry to prepare breakfast. While chopping vegetables, he reflects on how poorly he slept. A blush spreads across his face as he recalls being with Helvi. Lost in thought, he nicks his thumb with the knife, yelping in pain. He clenches his hand, cursing his own carelessness for getting cut. He remembers his grandmother's warnings to be cautious, a blush on his cheeks. His thoughts drift back to the lingering, intoxicating memories of their kisses. He vividly recalls the soft, warm sensation of Helvi's tongue in his mouth. Clutching his face, he desperately tries to regain his composure. The sound of approaching boots announces Helvi's arrival as she greets him. She stands before him in her true, magnificent form, horns and wings on display. Taken aback by her sudden presence, Theo stammers a greeting to the breathtaking Helvi. He points out her visible wings and horns, which she casually acknowledges. With a faint blush, she reveals they must have sprouted during her slumber. She clarifies it was an unconscious occurrence while she was deeply asleep. Theo can only gaze, eyes wide and cheeks flushed, murmuring his understanding. His silent admiration makes her blush, feeling self-conscious under his intense stare. He apologizes for his gaze, but she waves it off, asking if he likes her traits. Her demonic wing unfurls slightly as she presses him for his honest thoughts. Theo hesitates, struggling to find the right words to express his true feelings. He clarifies that it's not specifically about her horns or wings. With a deep blush, he admits he finds her stunning in this form. His sincere compliments shatter her composure, leaving her stunned and blushing. He shyly asks if she would reveal her true form when they are alone. Helvia agrees, saying she will comply with her beloved husband's wishes. Theo is ecstatic, thanking her and saying her happiness brings him joy too. They share a comfortable, charged silence, both blushing from the newfound closeness. A close-up of Theo's face reveals a single bead of sweat on his cheek. Helvi muses about how adorable he is for flirting with her so early. Theo cherishes the thought of seeing a side of Helvi that's just for him. Clearing her throat, Helvi attempts to move past the tender, awkward moment. She notices his bleeding thumb and inquires if he accidentally hurt himself. He brushes it off, but she insists he doesn't need a bandage. Gently, she takes his small hand in hers, her long nails contrasting with his skin. To his surprise, she brings his bleeding thumb toward her lips. Helvi softly sucks on the wound, cleaning it with her tongue as Theo watches. Theo is utterly stunned, his face turning crimson as he stammers her name. Her tongue is shown delicately licking the small cut on his thumb. He stares in disbelief as she releases his hand from her mouth. Looking down, he sees that the cut on his thumb has completely disappeared. With a proud, radiant smile, Helvi declares that she has healed it for him. Theo is amazed, realizing it's his first encounter with her healing magic. He notices his thumb is now slightly damp from her saliva. A new panic arises as he debates whether to wipe it off. Helvi teases him, suggesting he's welcome to suck on it himself. He frantically denies having any such thoughts, waving his hands in protest. Taking pity on him, she asks him to wait just a moment. She retrieves a clean white handkerchief to assist with his situation. With a gentle touch, she dabs his thumb dry with the soft cloth. She apologizes for the inconvenience, which he quickly brushes off as fine. With a sly look, she asks for a token of gratitude for the healing. Theo, flustered yet intrigued, inquires what she would like from him. She hesitates briefly before expressing her wish for a morning kiss. With a confident, blushing demeanor, she confirms that a kiss is her wish. Theo is completely taken aback, shouting in disbelief at her bold request. Helvi simply affirms her desire with a soft, affirmative sound. She playfully asks if bending over would make it easier for him to reach. Leaning down, she invites her husband to give her a morning kiss. Overwhelmed and blushing, Theo can only manage a trembling, squeaked yes. Two flushed faces lean in close, anticipating the kiss. In his nervousness, the dark-haired man misses, planting a gentle peck on her nose. Embarrassed, he covers his mouth, repeatedly apologizing for his awkwardness. Helvi, the horned woman, touches her nose, a blissful blush spreading across her face. She giggles softly, assuring him it's okay, her delight evident in her words. Her face lights up with a genuine, radiant smile as she expresses her heartfelt gratitude. Blushing and relieved, Theo beams with joy, thrilled to have made her happy. Suddenly, her cheerful demeanor vanishes, replaced by a look of deep sadness. Theo's eyes widen in shock and confusion at her sudden change in mood. In her thoughts, she envisions a perfect, passionate kiss shared between them. The fantasy unfolds with a close-up of their lips meeting in a tender embrace. Smiling to herself, she decides their next kiss should mirror that moment. The following morning, Theo wakes from a hazy dream, murmuring the word husband. After breakfast, Helvi declares it's time for them to head to the guild. He hesitates, calling her name with a shy, uncertain expression. She turns to him, asking what's wrong, her face a blend of curiosity and affection. With newfound determination, he steps closer, bridging the gap between them. He surprises her by initiating a deep, bold kiss, his small wings fluttering. Her single visible eye widens in shock as he pulls her in tightly. After a moment, she pulls back slightly, both of them breathless and flushed. Anxiously, he asks for her honest thoughts on how well he kissed her. She touches her lips, still flustered and reeling from the unexpected kiss. Internally, she feels ecstatic, marveling at his cuteness and how he caught her off guard. She feels elated that he cared for her so much, he acted without thinking. Still blushing, Theo reflects on how quickly she responded to him. Overwhelmed, he stammers that they should probably get moving now. She calls out his name, and he turns to her, asking what she needs. He gasps as she suddenly pulls him close. This time, she takes the lead, drawing him into another passionate kiss. Their morning kiss session drags on, making them late for the guild. At the impressive guild building, a receptionist waits with anticipation. Fiore, the receptionist, is dressed in her uniform, looking slightly flustered. She clasps her hands, offering a shy yet warm good morning to the air. Finally, the couple Theo and Helvi arrives at the guild entrance. Theo beams brightly, greeting Fiore with a cheerful smile. Helvi, still blushing and shy, offers a more subdued greeting to Fiora. Fiore notes their lateness, piecing together the situation with a knowing glance. In a professional tone, Fiore mentions they have several requests available today. She presents a book filled with available quests to the duo. As Theo reviews the requests, Fiore silently communicates with Helvi. Fiore mentally inquires if Helvi can hear her thoughts, a sly smile on her face. Helvi remains quiet for a moment, her eyes closed in concentration. Her eye opens as she confirms she can hear, explaining her mind-reading ability. Fiore gets straight to the point, asking telepathically about their first night. With a knowing grin, she presses on, asking if they were intimate. Helvi pretends not to understand, asking what she could possibly mean. Fiore insists she knows what she's implying, admitting her curiosity kept her awake. Blushing, Helvi bluntly tells her they did not actually do anything. Fiore is completely taken aback by this unexpected revelation. Helvi explains that she couldn't because Theo thinks babies come from kissing. Theo comments on Helvi's innocence, leaving Fiore to process the absurdity. Fiore then asks if Helvi herself wishes to be intimate with him. Helvi passionately asserts her intentions, proudly declaring that Fiore should appreciate her restraint. With a self-satisfied grin, she discloses that she and Theo did share a kiss. Fiore is thrown into a whirlwind of flustered disbelief, her eyes wide. Helvi radiates joy, gushing about how amazing the kiss was and how they lost track of time. Of finger beckons Helvi closer, eager to spill more tantalizing secrets. Feigning ignorance, she inquires about their intentions. Out of nowhere, a cluster of other receptionists encircles them, hungry for gossip. Fiore, looking remorseful, apologizes profusely to Helvi. Annoyed, Helvi questions what Fiore is apologizing for. With a guilty gaze, Fiore admits she spilled the beans about their first night. Helvi Glare demands to know what Fiore is revealing. Fiore explains that her tardiness and visit to Theo's place piqued everyone's curiosity. Under pressure, she confesses she unintentionally revealed the first night details. The other girls exclaim they've been dying to know what transpired. Feeling the weight of their curiosity, Helvi reluctantly agrees to share. She tells Theo she needs to chat and will catch up with him later. Theo wonders what on earth they could possibly want to ask her. Helvia finds herself completely surrounded by the inquisitive receptionists, looking drained. Fiore watches from the sidelines, a triumphant, sly grin on her face. Later, Theo's expression brightens as he spots Helvi returning. Exhausted yet flushed, Helvi confirms her return. She admits it was the first time she felt cornered by lesser beings. However, Theo's kind words and radiant smile instantly lift her spirits. When questioned, she deflects, calling it a conversation no man would want to hear. Deep down, she knows she could never reveal the truth to him. She remembers sharing every intimate detail of their night and morning. As she walks away, she feels their knowing stares and tries to brush them off. She acknowledges that recalling everything has reignited her desires. A troubling thought crosses her mind, realizing it could lead to complications. Noticing her tense demeanor, Theo innocently asks what's bothering her. She quickly brushes off his concern, insisting it's nothing significant. Her inner voice screams danger as she battles her urges. She admits to herself that she won't find peace without kissing him. They reach a compromise. Hours of kissing await them at home. Theo hands her a quest paper, seeking her thoughts on it. Helvi smiles, agreeing to review the job proposal. She is taken aback to find the request is simply for herb gathering. She boasts that even a fierce monster would be a walk in the park for her. Theo confirms the request was specifically made for him, surprising Fiore. Fiore explains that nearly all herb gathering tasks are assigned to Theo. She adds that many appreciate his meticulous gathering techniques. The task is delicate, requiring both leaves and roots to be collected carefully. Since most mercenaries are brawn over brains, Theo fills a unique and valuable role. Helvi blushes, realizing this means a quest Theo can handle is inherently safe. Fiore confirms it's safer than other tasks, with no monsters to fight. However, she points out he still has to leave town, where monsters could lurk. Theo explains he tries to stay under the radar and can escape from weak monsters. Helvi listens intently, a new plan forming in her mind. With a gentle, blushing smile, Helvi assures Theo he won't have to flee from monsters anymore. Theo's face lights up with pure, starry-eyed joy as he eagerly agrees. He shyly inquires if his wife, Helvi, will join him on the adventure. Helvi gently touches the leaf-like antenna on Theo's head, affirming her agreement. As she caresses his hair, she sweetly reminds him that she is his wife. The term wife resonates in Theo's mind, his eyes wide with deep emotion. Flushed and overwhelmed, Theo bows his head, expressing his heartfelt gratitude. A slightly embarrassed Helvi tries to ignore the three giggling receptionists observing them. Fiore, the head receptionist, grumbles about getting heartburn from their cuteness. She asks if she can officially log their acceptance of the herb gathering request. Theo beams, enthusiastically thanking her and confirming their choice. Fiore wishes Helvi a safe journey, her expression maintaining polite professionalism. Helvi firmly holds Theo's hand, assuring the receptionist not to worry about him. With a confident grin, she proclaims herself the most powerful being. The receptionists continue their chatter, noting the couple's chemistry and Helvi's charm. The scene shifts to a serene sunlit forest, tranquil and calm. Suddenly, a piercing scream disrupts the peacefulness of the woods. Helvi, now in her true horn form, intercepts the threat with blinding speed. She effortlessly cleaves a lunging goblin-like creature in half. Theo, relieved yet startled, thanks her for the quick rescue. With a confident smile, she dismisses the weak monster as easy prey, yet her thoughts linger on the feeble creature she just defeated. She ponders the serious threat it could have posed to Theo if he were alone. A fierce protective vow forms in her mind to always keep him safe. Theo wonders aloud why they keep encountering so many monsters here. He points out that this spot was chosen for its low monster encounter rate. Helvi explains that, in a way, she is the cause of the sudden surge. Her victory over the legendary Khmer has allowed lesser monsters to return. She informs Theo that it will take a bit longer to clear out all the monsters. Apologetic, Theo wishes he had selected a more fruitful location for them. Touched by his concern, Helvi reassures him that there's no need for apologies. He explains that it's his first time gathering herbs with someone, and he's enjoying it. Helvi's eyes soften, clearly moved by his genuine and heartfelt words. Theo looks up, a hint of surprise crossing his face as he feels her gaze. Helvi wraps her arms around him from behind, whispering that they can flirt freely now. Overwhelmed and blushing, Theo stutters her name in a weak protest. She brushes aside his concerns about more monsters with a sly, confident smile. With complete assurance, she tells him there are no more creatures nearby. Her thoughts drift back to her gossip session with Fiore and the other receptionists. Recalling the intimate details, she pants, unable to suppress her own desire. Leaning in close, she commands a nervous Theo to look her way. He turns, eyes wide and face flushed with eager anticipation. She captures his lips in a deep, passionate kiss amidst the secluded forest. They remain entwined in a tender embrace, lost in their private moment. After their interlude, they get back to the task of gathering herbs together. Though they work efficiently, they end up finishing later than usual. Theo reflects on the kiss, blushing as he recalls how wonderful it felt. Helvi joyfully decides that his lips are the finest delicacy she's ever tasted. The scene shifts to the town as evening begins to settle in. They reach the town gate just as darkness starts to envelop the area. Theo apologizes to a guard for their tardy return, feeling flustered and embarrassed. Helvi glances at the bashful Theo, her expression filled with fondness. She can't help but think how charming his shy gaze downward appears. Lost in his own musings, Theo wanders aimlessly through the bustling street. Helvi's eyes widen in shock as she anticipates a collision. A woman nearby also realizes that Theo is about to crash into her. Theo stumbles forward, landing softly against Helvi's chest. She steadies him, playfully scolding him for not paying attention. Crushed against her, Theo can only let out a flustered, muffled yesh. He attempts to respond, but she interrupts, saying the vibrations tickle. The closeness leaves Theo utterly flustered, his cheeks burning. Helvi finds his reaction adorable, wishing to keep him this near. She contemplates acting on her feelings right there in the street. Choosing not to make a scene, she suppresses her strong urge. Gently, she takes his hand, saying it's time for them to leave. She reminds him they need to report their quest before nightfall. A flustered Theo stutters his agreement to her sensible suggestion. He remains deeply flushed from their recent, unexpected closeness. Their hands shyly intertwine as they continue their walk. Helvi leans closer, whispering a tempting proposal for when they get home. Theo panics, shouting a denial at her suggestive remark. The scene shifts to two figures approaching the town from afar. Warrior Gina remarks that it's been ages since they visited Nemophilia. Her companion, the sorceress Saria, agrees it's been nearly a year. Saria wonders if that boy is doing well and has grown stronger. Gina recalls with a tinge of regret how they had to part ways. She remembers how lonely he appeared during their unavoidable farewell. Now filled with renewed determination, they vow to find Theo. Saria's expressions soften with resolve as she calls out his name. Gina beams with equal enthusiasm, echoing the promise to reunite. Their purposeful strides carry them with resolve toward the town. Meanwhile, inside the guild home, Theo remains flustered and quiet. A worried Fiora, the receptionist, inquires about his distress. Helvi points out that his face is flushed and quite warm. Embarrassed, Theo pleads with them not to ask about his condition. Fiora officially marks their herb-gathering quest as complete. The couple announces their departure for the day, bidding Fiora goodbye. They start to walk away from the reception area into the main hall. Helvi comments on how nostalgic the familiar guild hall feels to her. Her gaze wanders around the room, noticing something or someone. She spots a light warrior and a sorceress, noting their rarity in the guild. Gina's eyes widen in sudden recognition as she sees Theo. Her face lights up with pure joy as she calls out to him. Theo freezes, turning around in astonishment. He is utterly shocked to see his old friend standing there. Gina beams, thrilled to see him after such a long separation. The sorceress Saria offers a gentle wave, smiling warmly. Gina is overjoyed that Theo still remembers both of them. Theo gives a thumbs up with a wink, matching her cheerful energy. He then turns to his other former companion, Saria. With a warm, blushing smile, the witch Saria greets them, happy to see them. Theo, standing beside Saria and the warrior Gina, happily returns the cheerful sentiment. Gina notes that Theo remains unchanged, turning to them with a curious inquiry. With a playful blush, Gina gets ready to highlight a particular instance. She teasingly remarks on Theo's height, leaving them visibly flustered. A deeply embarrassed Atheo begs her not to bring it up, as it's a touchy topic. Saria concurs, pointing out that Theo appears to be the same height since their group split. Gina adds that she appreciates it, as it makes patting his head much simpler. As she reaches out, the cloaked figure suddenly intervenes with alarming swiftness. Helvi's icy gaze expresses her disapproval, warning that it would be troubling if Gina touched Theo. She concludes her warning, stating that Gina needs her consent to touch him, leaving Gina stunned. Gina feels the immense, unyielding force of Helvi's grip, questioning where it comes from. Being part of a formidable class, Gina realizes few could match her in strength. Yet she finds herself utterly unable to escape Helvi's grasp. The pressure is overwhelming as she fights against the unyielding hold, unable to move. Her hand remains ensnared, completely immobilized under the crushing force. She considers using all her strength to possibly break free from the grip. However, she hesitates, not wanting to reveal such a desperate side of herself. Theo's innocent expression makes her reluctant to show her full, serious power. Helbi reveals she knows their identities, having heard about them from Theo. She introduces herself as Helvi, and starts to explain her connection to Theo. With a confident, possessive gaze, she claims to be Theo Asper's partner. Her stunning announcement leaves both Gina and Saria utterly speechless. Gina's face twists in disbelief as she asks if this means Theo is married. Saria mirrors the shock, her expression one of complete astonishment at the revelation. A deeply blushing and flustered Theo confirms that this is indeed true. Gina still can't wrap her head around it, her mind spinning from the news. She expresses her disbelief that Theo is wed to such a stunning and powerful woman. Theo, smiling happily yet embarrassed, insists they aren't lying about it. Saria recalls how strongly Helvi reacted when Gina attempted to pet Theo's head. She deduces that this possessiveness shows how much Helvi treasures Theo's comfort. Annoyed, Gina squeezes her eyes shut, still processing everything. She asks Helvi if she could kindly release her wrist now. With a final gentle motion, the horned woman lets go of her captive's wrist. With a cold demeanor, Helvi establishes a new rule for her rival. The dark-skinned warrior is informed that she must now seek permission before touching Theo. Inspecting her arm, Gina marvels that no mark remains despite the immense pressure. Her gaze sharpens as she questions the true extent of Helvi's power. Calmly, Helvi affirms that she is indeed the most powerful being. Still doubtful, Gina presses her for more details about her strength. A confident, fang-bearing grin spreads across Helvi's face as she claims to be unmatched. The sheer audacity of her claim leaves Gina stunned into a sweaty silence. Regaining her composure, she dismisses the assertion as mere bravado, but Helvi insists it's the truth. The party's witch, Saria, notices her friend's odd behavior and inquires about it. Turning to her partner, Gina's expression turns serious as she prepares to explain. She whispers urgently, revealing Helvi's immense strength and her own futile attempts to resist. Her partner is taken aback, finding it astonishing that Gina was so easily overpowered. The witch wonders if Helvi is a melee fighter like her friend. Helvi clarifies that she doesn't particularly enjoy hand-to-hand combat, preferring her magic. The realization that someone stronger than Gina is also a magic user stuns Saria. With a determined stride, Gina's mood shifts from shock to eager anticipation. Her excitement bubbling over, she declares that they absolutely must have a fight. Helvi watches, utterly confused and unimpressed by the sudden aggressive challenge. Gina excitedly shares her passion for fighting. Saria, her friend, starts to apologize for being so forward. Helvi questions the sanity of the woman who has issued the challenge. Saria calls Gina a battle enthusiast, but admits she enjoys fighting too. Saria blushes, trying to deny being as selfish as her friend. The witch admits her curiosity about Helvi's power, which needs no visible weapon. Helvi remains unfazed by the growing excitement of her challengers. Young Theo in armor steps forward, urging his friends to back off. Sirius grins, assuring Theo they mean no harm to his wife. Eyes wide, Theo clarifies that his worries lie elsewhere. With a nervous grin, he expresses his belief that they can't defeat Helvi. The two strong adventurers are taken aback by his lack of faith. They protest, reminding him of their growth since they last met. Apologizing, Theo fears his friends would struggle against his wife. Saria ponders if Theo is exaggerating out of loyalty to his new family. Gina, fired up, insists they can't back down now. Saria blushes, admitting the fight now seems quite thrilling. Theo looks to Helvi for her decision, and she calmly replies that she's fine with it. Her gaze sharpens as she admits her curiosity has been piqued. A confident smile spreads as she expresses interest in witnessing the world's strong. Suddenly, Gina brightly asks to pat Theo's head before the fight, catching him off guard. Helvi sighs wearily, dismissing the request as harmless and granting it. Overflowing with joy, Gina thanks her profusely, winking with a big grin. She affectionately tousles Theo's hair, cooing about his cuteness and how long it's been. Eagerly, Gina asks if she can hug him next, her eyes sparkling with hope. Helvi's expression is stern as she flatly declines the request. Pouting with puffed cheeks, Gina calls her stingy for the refusal. Gina then nudges Saria, who expresses a wish to give Theo a lap pillow. With a steady gaze, Helvi denies this request too, which Saria seems to anticipate. Helvi sets a new condition. If they can defeat her, she will allow it. Gina is thrilled, exclaiming that Helvi has issued a challenge and vowing to win. Saria blushes with newfound determination, stating she now has a reason to win. Quietly, Helvi considers the idea of a lap pillow, her expression contemplative. A soft blush appears as she thinks about giving Theo one later, or maybe receiving one. Theo watches in horror, realizing he has become the prize in their duel. Once again, Gina is ecstatic, exclaiming that Helvi has called it and vowing to win. Syria blushes again with determination, stating she now has a reason to win. Helvi desires more blushes, planning to give Theo a lap pillow or perhaps receive one. Theo's eyes widen in horror as the reality of his situation begins to sink in. The realization hits him. He voices his dismay at being turned into a prize. A nervous guild receptionist requests they please take their fight elsewhere. One adventurer suggests a spacious area outside the town walls. Upon reaching the clearing, Gina declares it the perfect spot for a battle. Gina and Syria explain they prefer fighting at night, asking Helvi if she can see. With complete confidence, Helvi states that darkness is no problem, it's as clear as day. Gina is impressed by her opponent's unwavering confidence, noting she suspected as much. With a smug grin, Helvi expresses concern that their cheerleader Theo might not see the fight. With a sharp snap of her elegant claw-tipped fingers, Helvi begins a powerful spell. From her hand, a massive radiant orb of pure light starts to form. The orb glows brightly against the dark sky, casting light on the stunned group below. Theo smiles softly, checking if they can see clearly now. Overjoyed and blushing, Theo stutters their heartfelt gratitude to Helvison. Frustration boils over in Gina as she complains about their incessant flirting, feeling left out. Gaze sharpens with seriousness, questioning the vast magic required to uphold such a spell. Her eyes widen with determination as she insists on the necessity of a fair fight. She points out that an ordinary sorcerer couldn't maintain such a potent spell for long. A faint scoff escapes Helvi as she assures them everything will be all right. Her confident grin reveals a fang as she claims the spell is child's play. With a cool demeanor, she offers to conjure 100 more orbs if they desire. Gina clenches her jaw, suggesting it would be nice not to be condescended to. Helvi's lips curl slightly as she corrects Gina's misunderstanding about her tone. She clarifies that her remarks were simply a truthful evaluation of their differing abilities. Syria proposes that a fight would be a faster way to showcase their powers. Helvia agrees, noting they seem to share the same view on the subject. Theo, flustered, is called by name, looking completely overwhelmed by the tension. Helvi tells Theo to step back for a moment, and they nervously comply. Suddenly, Helvi calls out to Theo, asking them to hold on. Theo glances back, their wide, innocent eyes questioning her intentions. Leaning in, Helvi surprises Theo with a deep kiss. The kiss intensifies, their faces flushed and glistening with sweat in the cool air. Pulling away, Helvi thanks Theo, declaring that now victory is assured. A blushing Theo stammers, wishing Helvi good luck in the upcoming battle. Gina immediately starts teasing Syria, asking if she witnessed the amazing kiss. She continues to tease, questioning why Syria is blushing so intensely. Helvi's heeled boots step forward as she calmly apologizes for the wait. The trio of women, Helvi, Gina, and Syria, stands ready for their impending clash. Gina playfully calls Helvia a fortunate woman, remarking on how unfairly she outshone them. A pleased Helvi closes her eyes, accepting the comment as a compliment. Gina asks when she and Theo got married, and Helvi calmly confirms their union. The shocking news that they wed just yesterday leaves Gina utterly speechless. The teasing continues as Gina notes that their newlywed status explains their passion. Noticing her friend's flustered state, Jeanne explains that Syria is just an incredibly pure girl. Seeing Syria's ongoing embarrassment, Gina suggests she should be the first to fight. Blushing slightly, Helvi agrees that Gina going first is perfectly acceptable. Her casual acceptance confuses both Gina and Syria, who wonder what she means. A sharp predatory grin spreads across Helvi's face as she prepares her reply. With electrifying intensity, she issues her true challenge, inviting them to take her on together. The bold proposal leaves Gina utterly stunned, her eyes wide with disbelief. Syria is equally shocked, her face a mask of disbelief at the 2-on-1 challenge. Recovering from her surprise, Gina smirks, questioning if Helvi is serious about her claim. Helvi calmly reiterates her earlier statement, noting their strengths differ vastly. With a serious look, Syria warns Helvi that there's no turning back from this choice. Unfazed by the warning, Helvi dismisses it, confident she will have no regrets. With a sigh, Gina concedes, and Syria agrees they will fight as a team. The two challengers accept the terms, with Gina adding it would be dull otherwise. Pointing forward decisively, Gina interrupts to add one last condition to their duel. She declares that if they win, they will claim an additional prize. Helvi's eyes narrow with interest as she listens to the new stakes being laid out. She casually agrees to their terms, fully confident she will emerge victorious. Gina starts to articulate her exact request for what they desire if they emerge victorious. The focus shifts to her lips as she elaborates on their desired reward. With a faint blush, Gina boldly states they want a kiss from Theo. Helvi's eyes widen in disbelief, her composed facade crumbling instantly. A suffocating wave of pressure surges from her, crackling ominously in the air. Syria's eyes grow wide with fear as the overwhelming intent to kill envelops her. Gina feels unsettled, pondering the origin of this terrifying force. Helvi's face twists into a cold, murderous rage as she processes their request. Internally, she seethes, doubting if a kiss from Theo is genuinely what they seek. She remembers Theo has only kissed once, making it an incredibly rare treasure. The idea of these girls claiming such a precious prize is utterly unfathomable to her. Her anger morphs into a chilling, predatory thrill as she embraces the challenge. The fight kicks off immediately as Gina lunges forward, leaping to strike. Her combat style is unveiled. She employs steel-fication magic to fortify her body. Gina's fist crackles with the energy of steel-fication magic, ready to hit. Helvi watches with a fleeting look of surprise on her face. The powerful blow lands, propelling Helvi backward with tremendous force. A description explains how steel-fication magic can obliterate any weapon it touches. It further clarifies that a direct hit would leave no one unscathed. Gina's eyes widen in utter disbelief, realizing this outcome is beyond comprehension. In a flash, Helvi effortlessly catches the unstoppable punch with one hand. Completely stunned, Gina wonders if she's being toyed with. She stumbles back, astonished that her perfect strike didn't even faze Helvi. The warrior reflects that this feels far beyond any beast she has ever faced. Helvi coolly comments that Gina is stronger than she initially believed. Gina is shocked that her opponent can speak so casually without a hint of hesitation. Her other fist lunges forward as she questions Helvi's casual remarks. A close-up reveals Helvi's eye widening as she senses the second strike. The follow-up punch lands with a thunderous, explosive impact. From afar, Helvi admits to herself that she let her guard slip. Gina stands tall, noting her punch was weaker due to the lack of a wind-up. She believes the pain should have been sufficient to cause a faint. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she realizes her assumption was incorrect. In a breathtaking display of speed, Helvi has already caught the second punch. She condescendingly remarks that Gina is actually weaker than she anticipated. A nervous laugh escapes Gina, astonished that Helvi blocked her strike. She is perplexed, unable to track Helvi's movements despite her keen eyesight. Trying to retract her arm, Gina finds herself hopelessly ensnared. Helvi identifies her opponent's ability as the peculiar steel-fication magic. She recalls exterminating tortoise monsters that possessed the same power. Gina expresses her bewilderment, having never encountered such creatures. With a calm, final tone, Helvi simply reiterates that she exterminated them. The narrative defines extermination as obliterating something without leaving traces. Her thoughts wander to the mountain-sized beasts whose destruction she found amusing. Comparing them to Gina, she concludes the warrior's fists are far more delicate. Her grip tightens with a resounding crack, eliciting a pained response from Gina. The pressure escalates, turning the warrior's grunt into a scream of sheer agony. In an extreme close-up, a character's face twists in pain, releasing a powerful guttural scream. A colossal force crashes down upon the battlefield with a thunderous roar. Looking down at her opponent, Helvi states that they have merely begun. Gina, her opponent, pleads for a moment, stunned as she finds herself on her knees. With her hand trapped in an unyielding grasp, Gina questions this impossible tether. Bent in pain, all Gina can do is whisper Helvi's name. Her composure finally breaks as she cries out for her ally, Saria, to assist her. Helvi hears the frantic call and looks up, confusion etched on her face. A pair of black shoes steps into view, a calm voice responding to the plea. Saria, the witch, appears, declaring her intent to help while gripping her staff firmly. With a sharp, predatory grin, Saria warns that her helpers might sting a little. A title card reveals the match's outcome as Gina continues to scream for Saria. Helvi watches, puzzled, her expression a mix of bemusement and curiosity. Her companion's feet touch the grass as a voice casually agrees to lend a hand. Saria assures her help will be painful, while Gina pleads for her to hurry. With determination, Saria's hands grip her staff tighter, channeling immense energy. She leaps into the air, unleashing a powerful vortex of swirling magical force. As the spell engulfs them, Helvi recognizes the swirling mass as wind magic. Her eyes widen slightly, realizing the magnitude of the incoming magical onslaught. To brace herself, Helvi must release her tight grip on Gina's hand. Freed from the bind, Gina looks up in confusion, only to be caught in the spell. The warrior's eyes widen in shock as her rescue turns out to be equally perilous. The wind magic whips around her like blades, forcing a cry of pain from her. Bruised and disheveled, Gina angrily tells Saria to ease up on her. Saria points out that she did free Gina, so a little appreciation would be nice. Gina reflects on how Saria's wind magic sliced through her ultimate defense effortlessly. Helvi emits a thoughtful sound, standing completely unharmed by the fierce attack. Alongside Theo, she expresses relief that her clothes remained intact after the spell. The thought of being exposed in front of Theo fills Gina with mortifying embarrassment. Flustered, Theo insists he would have looked away, so it would have been fine. With an intense, possessive gaze, Helve declares she never wants Theo's eyes off her. Theo blushes deeply, completely flustered by Helvi's sudden intimate confession. Helve confidently accepts Theo's stammered promise to keep watching her. Her gaze sharpens as she redirects her focus back to her two challengers. Saria and Gina fume, annoyed that the couple is flirting amid the battle. Helve offers a feigned apology for the distraction, her smile wide and amused. She explains that their sweet exchange has put her in a delightful mood. With a smug chuckle, she adds that she feels good enough not to eliminate them. Saria can only let out a frustrated in response to Helve's condescending tone. A weary Gina tells Saria to please take over the fight from this point. The warrior steps back from the fray, leaving the witch to confront Helvia alone. Saria grips her staff tightly, preparing to cast her next more powerful spell. Dark, potent energy swirls around her as she closes her eyes in deep focus. She worries about her dwindling mana, noting she'd usually have Gina buy her more time. Saria challenges Helvi, asking if she will wait while she prepares her stronger spell. Helvi readily agrees, stating she feels fantastic and is happy to wait for the attack. Her easy acceptance surprises Saria, though she admits she had suspected it. Angered by the casual condescension, Saria vows to defeat Helvi in one decisive blow. Helvi knows this challenging, mana-intensive spell is Saria's most formidable attack. She coolly deduces that since it wouldn't harm Gina, this spell won't kill her either. Gina tells Saria to go ahead with her attack, confident that everything will be fine. With a grin, she expresses her complete faith that Helvi cannot perish from this spell. A close-up of Saria's determined mouth reveals her readiness to unleash her power. Her grip on the staff is firm as she channels a vast amount of magical energy. Theo, filled with worry, shouts Helvi's name as the destructive spell charges up. Syria cautions Helvi to do her utmost to survive the impending attack. At the end of Syria's staff, a sphere of crackling dark energy begins to form. The witch proclaims that her foe will be overwhelmed by the spell's tremendous force. Helvi's eye observes the approaching magical sphere with calm, focused attention. A colossal wave of force crashes down, dubbed extreme pressure gravity. The narration clarifies that this is gravity magic, amplifying a target's weight many times over. Syria confesses she has never used this on a living being, fearing it could be fatal. A close-up of Gina's worried expression reveals her concern about the spell's impact. The spell is characterized as an overwhelming force that crushes any monster effortlessly. Helvi remains completely unharmed, reflecting on how she never anticipated witnessing gravity magic. Gina is utterly bewildered, questioning how Helvi is still standing and seemingly healthy. Syria is taken aback by Helvi's calm demeanor, as if she hadn't been affected at all. Panting from exertion, Saria demands to know if the spell even made contact. Helvi confirms it did hit her, revealing her weight has increased 100-fold. She expresses her bewilderment at being able to stand so casually despite it. Sirius gazes, sweat dripping. They are speechless at her composed demeanor. Helvi raises a single finger, stating that the answer to the mystery is quite simple. With unwavering assurance, she asserts that the spell simply lacks the necessary strength. Syria reiterates the shocking fact that Helvi is unscathed after a 100-fold weight increase. Helvi chuckles, explaining it would take several hundred times more to even faze her. The revelation strikes Syria like a physical blow, leaving her in disbelief. Gina exhales wearily, realizing there's no point in continuing this battle. The gap in their power levels is now brutally evident to both of them. Leaning on her staff, Siri admits this was the absolute best she could muster. Worn out, she concedes that she can't fight any longer, unable to match Helvi's strength. Gina makes a humorous face, agreeing that the situation is utterly hopeless. With a dramatic gesture, she throws her hands up and officially surrenders. She notes, feeling embarrassed, that her contributions to the fight have been minimal. Helvi declares that to conclude matters, she will impose a fitting punishment. A nervous Gina begs for the punishment to not be excessively painful. Helvi corrects her, stating it won't be painful in the way she anticipates. With a snap of her fingers, she describes it as somewhat hard to endure. The ground fractures as a tremendous force crashes down on the two challengers. Gina's eyes widen in horror as she realizes the familiar crushing pressure. She gasps, understanding that Helvi can wield gravity magic as well. Syria realizes this is what Helvi meant when she referred to her magical expertise. Helvi showcases her superior control, casting the spell with instant precision. She casually adds that she personally can't even manage it that well yet. A blushing, humiliated Gina can only acknowledge the vast difference in their power. Helvi calmly assures them she'll manage the magic so their bones remain intact. She instructs them to endure the intense pressure for just a few more minutes. Gina grunts in pain, finds herself pinned to the ground by the spell's crushing force. She cries out, questioning why the pressure feels even more intense for her. Helvi explains it's a favor to keep her from escaping using her own magic. Theo cautiously approaches Helvi, calling her name with a concerned expression. Helvi turns to him, acknowledging his presence as he inquires if the ordeal is finished. The witch, Saria, leaning on her staff, proclaims her victory but pleads for assistance, having exhausted her magic. Her companion Gina confidently believes that the kind-hearted Theo will surely come to her rescue. Theo Stammer stands there, utterly confused, unsure how to respond to their conflicting cries. On the ground, Gina is taken aback when Helvi's voice urges her to endure just a bit longer. A red-faced Theo explains that this is their consequence for challenging his wife. Syria is left speechless, her face turning red with shock and a touch of embarrassment. Gina screams in horror, finally grasping that this is their punishment for the fight. With his back turned, Theo hesitantly begins to pose a question to Helvi. He asks Helvi if she might ease up a bit on his friends. Ignoring his request, Helvi leans in and kisses a completely bewildered Gina. A narrative note reveals that Helvi, emboldened after the battle, kissed Gina for several minutes. Meanwhile, the gravity spell continues to pin Gina and Pincheria to the ground in pain. A flustered Theo shouts at Helvi, pleading with her to stop kissing his friend. The three women simply observe his outburst, thinking he looks cute, even when upset. After the chaos, Theo approaches a smiling Gina to check on her condition. He then turns to Syria, who looks dazed, asking if she's okay too. Theo voices his concern for them, having endured the powerful spell for so long. Gina and Syria cheerfully assure him they are fine, expressing gratitude for his concern. Syria then playfully teases Helvi, noting how she maintained the spell while kissing non-stop. Helvi coolly brushes off the accomplishment as easy, leaving Soraya momentarily speechless. Ciri's curiosity gets the better of her, prompting her to ask Helvi about her true identity. She clarifies that despite appearances, she and Gina are strong enough to protect nobles. Their strength has actually brought them fame and numerous personal requests from the royal capital. A blushing Helvi simply reiterates that she is Theo's wife, which Gina finds unhelpful. Gina presses further, arguing that being his wife doesn't explain her extraordinary power. Helvi's expression sharpens as she repeats her usual response. She is the most powerful. Gina deadpans that this still doesn't clarify anything about her origins or abilities. Syria wisely opts not to push the matter, aware that mercenaries often keep secrets. Suddenly, Gina breaks the tension, loudly announcing that she's hungry. Seizing the moment, a cheerful Theo offers to treat them all to a meal at his place. Gina beams at the offer, eagerly accepting with a wide, happy grin. She bursts out with a joyful woohoo. Is anyone else excited for the meal? With a delighted laugh, Gina raves that Theo's cooking is simply the best. Syria agrees, playfully suggesting that the two of them might devour everything Theo makes. The two women glance at Helvi, who appears to be contemplating the new challenge. Helvi lets out a soft, "oh," her expression shifting to a confident, knowing smirk. Syria explains that as mercenaries, they consume far more than the average person. She wonders if perhaps an eating contest is the only way to finally beat Helvi. With a slight smirk, Helvi quietly accepts their challenge, saying, "Very well." The entire group buzzes with excitement, officially declaring their next event an eating contest. As they walk through town, Saria can't stop talking about her excitement for Theo's cooking. They stroll through a bustling market street, its cobblestones aglow with festive lights. Theo asks Helvi if there's anything she'd like to eat, while Saria continues her chatter. Helvi decides that since she had meat yesterday, Fish would be a refreshing change. Gina and Saria happily agree with the suggestion, thanking Theo for his thoughtfulness. As Theo announces their next destination is the fish market, he struggles with the heavy basket. Helvi notices his struggle and offers to carry the basket for the remainder of their journey. She then clarifies, slightly blushing, that the weight wasn't her main concern. With a deep blush, she explains that if he carries it, they won't be able to hold hands. Theo is left speechless, his face turning a brilliant red at her romantic reasoning. Flustered but straightforward, Helvi urges him to hurry and hand over the heavy basket. As she takes it, Theo remains silent, his blush deepening as he gazes up at her. Embarrassed and flustered, Theo can only stutter his agreement. In a sweet moment, their free hands connect, fingers softly intertwining. Both flushed, they share a quiet, intimate moment filled with spark. From a distance, Gina gets Theo's reaction but is confused by Helvi. Saria wonders why Helvi, who kisses him, blushes just from holding hands. Gina concludes that their lack of love means they can't grasp Saria's feelings. Their chat is cut short by a loud splash from a fish jumping out of a crate. Later at dinner, Saria enjoys a bite, proclaiming the food utterly delicious. The others nod in agreement, noting it's a significant upgrade from their usual rations. Helvi watches with a proud, subtle smile as Theo serves the meal. Saria points out Helvi's unusual pride, which Helvi happily acknowledges. Overwhelmed by compliments, Theo shyly thanks his friends, blushing. Gina and Saria eagerly hold up their empty plates, asking for more. Theo gladly agrees to serve them more, also checking if Helvi wants seconds. Helvi's eyes widen with excitement at the prospect of more food. Saria playfully warns Helvi that if she doesn't hurry, they'll devour everything. With determination, Helvi declares she wants seconds more than anyone else. Theo, flustered but happy, tells everyone not to overindulge as he brings out more. Thus, the eating contest kicks off with the girls diving in eagerly. Helvi glares at a massive bowl of food, contemplating the contest's outcome. Afterward, Gina and Saria lie on the couch groaning about their defeat. A composed and healthy Danielle wipes her mouth, declaring the meal delightful. Theo marvels at her appetite, wondering if she had enough yesterday. She leans in and whispers that as a devil, she doesn't feel hunger or fullness. Continuing her quiet explanation, she reveals most human needs don't apply to her. However, she can appreciate flavors, and she finds Theo's cooking exceptional. The moment grows even more intimate as she leans closer to him. She plants a soft kiss on his cheek, calling it a wonderful feast. Theo is completely taken aback by the gesture, his face turning bright red. Later, as the excitement fades, the group relaxes together. Gina sighs, feeling she's finally settled down after the enormous meal. In the main room, Jean and Saria lounge on the couch while Theo and Helvi are close by. Helvi comments on how much they resemble a couple, which Theo happily confirms. Gina is shocked to discover that Theo, whom she viewed as a little brother, is married. She reminisces about a year ago when Theo first joined their duo. Saria adds that they couldn't bear to see him rejected by every other party. Though he was useless in combat, he excelled in everything else, from cooking to healing. Gina dramatically laments that her life plans have been completely overturned. She reveals her original intention was to bring Theo to the royal capital to live with them. She envisioned a paradise where he would handle all chores and cook daily. However, she sighs. They had no clue he already had a fiancé. Saria's expression turns contemplative as she recalls another aspect of their shared time. She muses that Theo never seemed to view either of them as women, a thought Gina dislikes. Saria admits she'd prefer not to be reminded of that particular part of their history. She recounts how, as they grew closer, they eventually began sharing a tent. A flashback shows the two women in sleepwear sitting beside an oblivious Theo. A shared thought bubble reveals both women secretly hoped he would make a move. Gina even confesses she considered taking the initiative herself. A hand urgently grabs another's arm, pulling them forward and inviting Saria to join. In a bed with a sleepy Theo yawns, they read a book, responding when their name is called. A woman's determined eye fills the frame, flushed with emotion as she battles her feelings. Gina, blushing and sweating, confesses she can't handle the pressure any longer, while Saria observes. Once more, the woman's fierce gaze is captured, her thoughts revealing her own limits. As Theo reads in peace, his companions admit they can no longer tolerate the situation. Gina hurriedly clarifies that her fatigue isn't the issue, while Saria looks equally horrified. They chuckle, revealing their deep sadness, questioning if they lack any romantic allure. The memory unfolds, showcasing a heart-wrenching goodbye as they leave Theo for a perilous quest. After a lengthy absence, they finally return, but everything feels different. Syria feels a wave of relief, noticing Theo appears genuinely happy with his new partner. Gina nods, saying she now fully understands why Theo and Helvia are so in love. With a piercing gaze, Syria contemplates this new relationship dynamic between them. Syria playfully wonders if the newlyweds have already consummated their marriage, leaving Gina stunned. A flustered Gina pretends not to understand, asking what Syria could possibly imply. With a toothy grin, Syria insists that Gina knows precisely what she means. Gina attempts to deflect with a nervous smile, claiming she has no clue what Syria is suggesting. Puffed cheeks and all, Syria argues that the assertive Helvia is a carnivore and must have acted. Gina blushes, remembering they just tied the knot yesterday and realizing the implications for their first night. Their imaginations run wild, convinced the couple's first night was filled with passion. Syria triumphantly asserts they must have gone all the way, while Gina pretends to be oblivious. An unaware Theo cheerfully interrupts, asking how long his friends plan to stay in town. Syria, flustered but regaining composure, mentions they'll be around for about a month unless something urgent arises. Wiping sweat from her brow, she feels a mix of seriousness and relief, glad her thoughts didn't slip. Theo's face brightens, suggesting they embark on a fun quest together for old time's sake. Seeking confirmation, Theo asks if they are sure about joining her on this journey. Gina winks confidently, assuring him they are in, turning to Syria for support. Syria beams, agreeing that she would love to accompany Theo on another adventure. Overwhelmed with joy, Theo's eyes shine with excitement at the delightful prospect. While doing chores, Theo inquires if Helvi will join them on the quest. Gina enthusiastically urges Helvi to come along, insisting it will be a blast with her there. Syria adds that if Theo is going, she will definitely be there too. Helvi internally frets, knowing they will bombard her with questions about their first night. Despite her doubts, a determined expression crosses Helvi's face as she weighs the alternatives. Lost in bliss, Theo vows to hold on to this joyful feeling for as long as he can. Helvi concludes that journeying with Theo is worth any troublesome inquiries. With a decision made, the four of them accept a quest that includes a sleepover. The next morning, Saria's loud greeting resonates as the group gets ready to meet. The party assembles, with Theo and Syria exchanging cheerful greetings, while Helvia remains quieter. Syria immediately gets in the couple's faces, grinning widely as she asks if they had fun last night. Theo looks utterly confused, while Gina whispers to Syria, reminding her of their promise. A flashback begins, showing Gina reminding Syria of their vow not to discuss it. The flashback depicts them returning to their inn after dinner at Theo's place. In their room, they gushed over how adorable the couple was and talked about Helvi's powers. Their imaginations ran wild, envisioning a passionate encounter between the newlyweds, convinced something occurred. Back in the present, Syria admits she always wanted to ask such a cheeky question, while Gina pleads for her to stop. Still puzzled, Theo asks Helvi what Syria means by her suggestive remark. Syria gives Helvi a knowing look, confident she understands the implication perfectly. Helvi, blushing fiercely, tries to deny everything, but Syria triumphantly calls her out. Syria insists Helvi won't escape her denial, cornering her as Gina watches. She points out that the blush has crept all the way to Helvi's winged ears. Flustered, Helvi emits a soft sound of embarrassment, covering her mouth with her hand. Gina playfully points out how intrigued Helvi seems by the topic, reminding them they aren't in a position to judge. Helvi thinks in frustration about their wild imaginations, unaware that she's within earshot. A flashback unveils Helvi's true feelings after seeing her friend's outrageous fantasies involving her and Theo. She was so thrilled that she impulsively kissed Theo right after they stepped outside. Gina takes Helvi's hand, leading her away from the crowd for a private conversation. Syria grabs Helvi's other arm, preparing for their little interrogation. They inform a surprised Theo that they're borrowing Helvi and ask him to secure a quest. As they guide Helvi away, Theo is left behind, feeling an unsettling sense of familiarity. He reflects that this kind of situation feels eerily similar to something that happened just yesterday. At the guild, Theo searches for a quest that requires an overnight stay. He tells the receptionist, Fiore, that all four of them will be taking part in the quest. Fiore comments that with such a strong team, they'll be safe no matter what challenges arise. She observes that there haven't been many overnight requests lately, resting her chin on her hand in thought. Fiore turns to sift through the available requests, asking Theo to hold on for a moment. She explains that most overnight quests were assigned to Gina and Syria when they were still around. Fiore adds that back then, Theo always seemed to be just an assistant. Suddenly she discovers an old but suitable request, much to Theo's relief. Theo exhales in relief, glad they found something fitting for the group. However, as Fiore reads the details, her expression shifts to one of hesitation and concern. She awkwardly mentions a minor issue with the request, making Theo uneasy. Now worried, Theo asks her what's wrong with the quest she found. Fiore looks down, blushing slightly, unsure of how to explain the situation. She quickly brushes off his concern, waving her hands and insisting it's nothing serious. Fiore confirms the quest will involve a 1 or 2 night stay and asks if that's okay. With the details finalized, Fiore agrees to process their request. Theo glances around, puzzled about where the other 3 have disappeared to. The realization strikes Theo with a wave of horror. Gina and Saria took Helvi for questioning. Meanwhile, Saria is comically shocked, demanding to know if it's true they haven't been intimate yet. Helvi, annoyed, tells her to lower her voice, noting that her face is too close. Gina laughs, admitting she found it odd how flushed Helvi became just from holding hands. Helvi tells her to be quiet, but Gina points out that it all makes sense now. Blushing deeply, Helvi explains that it's only their second day as a married couple, and it will happen in time. She confidently states that she will be with Theo from now on, with plenty of opportunities ahead. A small knowing smile appears on Helvi's lips as she contemplates the future. Syria laughs, revealing that Theo is so naive he once thought storks delivered babies. Gina smiles fondly, agreeing that it perfectly captures the adorable Theo they all know. Gina points out that, unlike Theo, Helvi is definitely not oblivious to such topics. She presses on, asking if Helvi has any desire to be intimate with him. Helvi, with a sultry blush, admits she can't deny her feelings. Her friends tease her, saying it must be tough to hold back since Theo is so charming. Helvi lets out a soft, knowing chuckle, handling their playful teasing with confidence. The girls' imaginations run wild, likening Theo to ripe fruit, lamenting the agony of not being able to indulge. Syria asks Helvi not to harm Theo, leaving Helvi looking puzzled. Helvi laughs, confidently asserting that she's quite skilled at controlling her powers and would never hurt Theo. Syria comments that from her experience, Helvi is misguided in her thinking. Satisfied with their chat, Helvi turns to leave, eager to reunite with Theo. She arrives just as Theo has secured a quest for a rare herb. The quest requires them to gather 2 types of rare herbs from the peaks of the distant Twin Peaks. At the Mercenary Guild, Gina joyfully announces that the new herb gathering quest absolutely needs Theo's exceptional skills. A close-up reveals a hand gently patting the head of the young armored adventurer. Gina and the witch Syria affectionately pet Theo, who meekly expresses his gratitude for their kind words. Helvi reminds her friends that they were already stroking him without even asking first. The 2 adventurers awkwardly apologize for their lack of etiquette, while Fiore, the receptionist, watches in disbelief. A close-up of Fiore's face reveals her hidden wish. She longs to pet him too. Helvi casually invites Fiore to join in, leaving the receptionist in a state of shock. Leaning closer, Helvi hints that they all share a unique bond with Theo, deepening Fiore's blush. Fiore realizes with growing dread that Helvi has been reading her thoughts and begs her to stop. Embarrassed, Fiore insists she hasn't thought of anything inappropriate, while Helvi remains unfazed by her distress. Helvi pauses, contemplating a question that has just emerged in their silent mental exchange. Fiore, flustered and blushing, touches her chin, clearly troubled by something unspoken. To illustrate her point, Helvi reveals to Fiore that she and Theo shared a passionate kiss that very morning. Overcome with embarrassment, Fiore hides her face in her hands, admitting that the knowledge bothers her. Their chat is interrupted as the guild clerk spreads out a map, starting to outline the dangers of the Twin Peaks quest. He discloses that the right peak is inhabited by a band of ruthless bandits who attack anyone they encounter. The adventurers express their surprise, unaware of the bandits lurking in the vicinity. The clerk clarifies that the request was only issued about 6 months ago, after Gina and Saria had already departed. Helvi brushes off the bandits with a confident grin, asserting that they won't be a problem with her around. The others nod in agreement, pondering that with Helvi's immense power, their presence might not even be needed. Pointing at the map, Helvi clarifies that the real threat isn't the bandits, but the left peak. She reveals that rumors suggest demons dwell there, shocking the armored Theo. Upon hearing the term, Theo instinctively looks at Helvi, his eyes wide with unspoken fears and knowledge. Helvi maintains a calm, unreadable demeanor, her gaze fixed ahead as the group processes this unsettling news. The adventurers debate the rumor, with Saria and Gina questioning if demons is merely a metaphor for something terrifying. Theo silently contemplates the term demons, recalling that tales of legendary creatures are not uncommon. He remembers an old legend claiming demons wiped out all monsters, a story he never truly accepted. Until now, he had always thought of demons as mere characters in fantasy tales. However, Theo knows the truth. Demons are real, and he internally acknowledges that his wife Helvi is one. He recalls the previous day when Helvi, alone with him, unveiled her true magnificent form, complete with horns and wings. The memory of what followed, an incredibly intimate and passionate moment, overwhelms him. Blushing intensely, Theo forcefully shoves the embarrassing thought aside, muttering to himself to forget it. He considers that while demonic is often used metaphorically, the rumor about the mountain might be different. A hint of fear creeps in as he wonders if the demon on the mountain could rival Helvi's power. Unbeknownst to him, Helvi is privy to his every thought, contemplating his internal questions with a thoughtful expression. She reflects on her long existence, noting that she has never encountered another true demon besides herself. With a confident smirk, she concludes that even if this one is real, it doesn't matter. She's the strongest. Theo gazes up at her, his face a mix of awe and nervous trust in her capabilities. With a gentle, deliberate motion, Helvi's gloved hand reaches out to her concerned husband. She tenderly cups his chin, making a solemn vow that she won't let him suffer even a scratch. Overwhelmed by her powerful promise, Theo blushes as she follows up with a soft pat on his head. Helvi offers a warm, reassuring smile, her deep affection for him shining in her eyes. The tender gesture leaves Theo utterly stunned and flustered, his eyes wide with shock and delight. Nearby, Fiori jolts with panic, realizing Helvi is once again inside her mind. Helvi makes a direct telepathic plea to Fiori, asking her to promise something significant. She insists that Fiori must never, under any circumstances, reveal to Theo that she can read minds. Helvi's gaze sharpens as she states that the reason for her request should be clear to the receptionist. She explains that she enjoys his pure, unfiltered thoughts and doesn't want them to cease, a reason Fiori reluctantly accepts. Fiori feels as if she's been coerced into a promise she doesn't fully grasp, while her friends continue to dote on Theo. The clerk summarizes the quest. Retrieve 2 rare herbs from the Twin Peaks, a place where bandits and demons are rumored to appear. Syria and Gina voice their concerns about the demons, though they feel confident in handling the bandits. Helvi reassures them with unwavering confidence, stating that with her present, everything will be just fine. With a choice made, Saria eagerly announces that the group should set off without any further hesitation. Fury observes her friends lavishing attention on Thea, exasperatedly questioning how long this will go on. She points out that a quest involving a sleepover means they'll need to prepare for the journey. She mentions the necessity of gathering food and other essentials for their adventure. The team starts discussing the expenses and logistics of purchasing preserved meals and camping gear. Helvi inquires about their supplies at home, and Theo confidently replies that they have enough food for 4 days. Theo is taken aback when Helvi informs him that they won't need to buy any extra food for their journey. With a smug grin, Helvi tells the confused group that they are already well prepared. Gina highlights a major flaw in this reasoning, reminding them they'll need to camp for roughly 3 days. Syria concurs, stating that embarking on such a trip without camping gear would be quite challenging. Helvi decides it's faster to demonstrate her solution and suggests they all head back to Theo's place. As they walk, Saria ponders what Helvi could mean, since camping without gear seems impossible. Concerned about his wife's mysterious plan, Theo hesitantly calls out to Helvi. Helvi simply reassures him with a confident smile, telling him to trust her. Blushing, Theo quietly mutters that the place in question is his house, not hers to command. Helvi turns to him, a slightly puzzled and blushing look on her face, having overheard his quiet protest. Gathering his courage, Theo boldly corrects himself, stating that it is our house, shocking Helvi. Flustered by the sudden closeness of his words, Helvi turns away, agreeing with his correction. She covers her mouth with a gloved hand, letting out a soft cough to mask her deep embarrassment. With a warm smile, Helvi turns back and suggests they should return to their house then. Theo's face brightens with a radiant smile as he enthusiastically agrees with her idea. The group strolls back through the familiar streets of town, heading toward their shared home. From behind, Gina and Saria watch the couple, noting how they truly resemble a married pair. They finally reach the charming stone and wooden house nestled at the forest's edge. Helvi warns the others that things are about to get a bit risky and tells Theo to stay safely behind her. She reveals her grand, absurdly simple plan. If all the food is in the house, she'll just take the whole house with them. With a decisive snap of her fingers, she unleashes her powerful reality-altering magic. The ground starts to shake violently beneath her, the force of the spell immediately evident. The entire group is thrown off balance by the sudden, powerful quake that rattles the air around them. Saria correctly identifies the tremors as Helvi's magic, while the others struggle to maintain their footing. Amid the chaos of the intense shaking, Theo completely loses his balance and stumbles forward with a startled shout. He falls against Helvi's back, instinctively wrapping his arms around her waist to avoid falling. Embarrassed by the sudden closeness, Theo quickly apologizes and starts to pull away from her. Helvi urges him not to let go, explaining that the shaking hasn't ceased and he should hold on tight. Theo is completely overwhelmed by the sensation of Helvi's body against his, an experience he feels acutely. A silent gasp signifies the intense shared sensation of pleasure and connection that flows between them. Helvi relishes the warmth of Theo's hands around her, thinking to herself how wonderful it feels. In a secret, fervent wish, she hopes he could hold her forever. Their friends, Gina and Saria, complain that the shaking seems to be intensifying as they are tossed around. Both powerful adventurers admit they are nearing their physical limits from the relentless tremors. The magic reaches its peak, centering on the house, now enveloped in a swirling aura of energy. Helvi raises her hand, channeling her immense power for the final breathtaking display. With a mighty heave, the entire house is lifted from the ground, floating gracefully on a massive island of earth. Lying on the cracked ground below, Saria recognizes the spell as gravity magic. Amazed by its scale, she notes that lifting requires far more intricate mana control than simply crushing something. The powerful witch laments that she can't even make a single person float, let alone an entire house. Helvi proudly confirms to the stunned group that this was indeed her grand plan all along. With a blissful smile, she explains that by bringing the house, they can enjoy their trip comfortably without camping. Helvi's grand idea meets resistance from her companions, Gina and Saria. A flustered Gina argues that the simple joy of camping is part of the adventure. Saria nods, adding that bringing a house would spoil the adventurous vibe. Helvi's face falls, murmuring as she processes their disagreement. She glances at Theo for his thoughts, who quietly concurs with the others. Lost in thought, Helvi's expression shifts as she reflects on their argument. She confesses she has never embarked on an adventure and didn't know these customs. With a firm nod, she decides to abandon her bold scheme. The enormous floating house crashes back down with a loud thud. Helvi apologizes for her suggestion, but Theo reassures her with a warm smile. Gina and Saria chuckle, amazed that anyone would even consider lifting a house. The group opts to pack regular bags and reconvene at Theo's place. Helvi ponders the term luggage, a playful idea sparking in her mind. The stage is set for their new preparation centered around the house. A contemplative sound lingers as the plan evolves. Gina and Saria return fully equipped, asking if Theo and Helvi are set. Saria, with her own pack, gazes at the house, ready to leave. She remarks on how absurd it would be to see the house floating behind them. Gina agrees, envisioning the ridiculous sight of a flying house trailing them. They call out to Theo, letting him know their preparations are done. Inside, Saria offers to help carry some of Theo's items if they're too heavy. The two adventurers step inside, puzzled to find no luggage in sight. Theo cheerfully declares that their own preparations are actually complete. A confused Gina inquires about what happened to their luggage. Helvi cryptically mentions they've arrived just in time for her scheme. With a sly grin, she instructs them to leave their bags outside. Gina and Saria exchange bewildered glances, curious about her plan. They drop their heavy backpacks on the ground with a thud. Helvi assures them their placement is fine as the group observes. Suddenly, their backpacks begin to float gently into the air, shocking them. The levitating backpacks hover in front of them, defying gravity. Helvi explains this is how she intended to move the house. With a dazzling burst of magic, she sends the luggage soaring into the sky. Gina panics, grabbing her head and shrieking about their luggage turning into stars. Syria marvels at the gravity magic, while Gina insists it's a troubling situation. Helvi chuckles, assuring them their luggage is just floating safely above the clouds. She winks, boasting she could keep their luggage floating forever with ease. Syria confirms the food is up there too, and Helvi agrees. Theo recalls the shocking moment their luggage was launched into the sky. Gina appreciates the convenience, but Syria points out the magical strain. Helvi brushes it off, joking she could make the entire house float again. Gina pictures the absurd sight of them gazing up at a flying house. With their preparations finally done, the group is ready to set off. They ponder whether to notify the guild about their departure. Standing before the guild, the group hesitates for a brief moment. The receptionist, Fiora, approaches and inquires about their missing luggage. Helvi deadpans that she simply sent their luggage up into the sky. The bizarre claim causes Fiora's mind to short-circuit in disbelief. The group notices Fiora's brain is glitching from the confusion. Theo attempts to clarify that Helvi used magic, but it doesn't help. Gina comments on Helvi's impressive feats, casually mentioning the Chimera defeat. The rest of the party is stunned to learn Helvi took down the Chimera. Helvi calmly advises Gina to lower her voice regarding the secret. Gina, flustered, apologizes, confessing she only caught wind of the monster's defeat through rumors. Syria cleverly infers that the hero's identity was concealed to keep a low profile. She realizes that if Helvi can conquer a Chimera, they stand no chance. Gina nods in agreement, feeling humbled by Helvi's undeniable strength. This newfound knowledge boosts the group's confidence for the journey ahead. They announce their departure, waving goodbye to the still bewildered Fury. Fury gazes at Helvi, her expression softening with concern. Next, she shifts her worried gaze toward Theo. She urges Theo to be cautious and avoid getting hurt on their quest. Theo responds with a bright, reassuring smile, vowing to give his all. Helvi suggests they should get moving, turning to Theo. She extends her hand toward him, silently inviting him. Theo becomes flustered, stammering as he reaches for her hand. Helvi observes his shy reaction, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Their hands meet in a tender, sparkling moment of connection. Helvi turns to Fiore, reassuring her that there's no need to worry. They'll return. With a confident smirk, she asserts that her power will keep everyone safe. Fury watches them depart, pondering how serious Helvi is about safeguarding Theo. A sudden thought strikes Gina, causing her to panic about forgetting to secure horses. A flashback reveals Gina urging Theo to take it down. Helvi's voice expresses concern over Theo's capability to handle the situation. Theo gazes ahead with determination, his focus unwavering. He asserts his belief that he will be fine, his expression resolute. The scene snaps back to Gina's frantic realization about the horses. Helvi wonders if they can simply walk, but Theo explains the distance involved. Syria points out they no longer require a coach, but will need horses. Helvi suggests flying, but the others quickly dismiss the idea. Gina proposes visiting a horse dealer to find mounts for their journey. At the stables, an employee announces she has exactly 4 horses available. The group feels relieved, but the employee mentions there's a complication. She reveals that one of the horses is aggressive and has never been ridden. She suggests that 2 people ride together, a thought that intrigues them. Helvi sees this as a potential advantage, a way to stay close to Theo. She imagines the awkwardness of riding separately, missing the chance to flirt. A clever idea forms in her mind, a small smile appearing on her face. She declares they'll ride together to flirt and eagerly requests all 4 horses. The employee begs Gina not to attempt any crude training methods. Gina confidently volunteers to check out the untamable horse. The rest of the party sizes up Gina's typical bravado. The employee guides them to the pasture where the wild stallion stands out. The group notes the horse's dark, menacing aura, distinct from the others. The employee confirms this is the aggressive horse they mentioned. She explains that it isn't fully trained yet and tends to act out. Gina views this as an opportunity to showcase her skills, but Saria cautions her. Gina turns with a wink, ready to take on the challenge. She enthusiastically encourages Theo to take it down, surprising him. Her sharp fang smile radiates confidence as she repeats her command. Standing before the wild black stallion, warrior Gina boldly asks what its issue is. The elegant Helvi turns to her companion Theo, questioning if he can handle the beast. With a cheerful, innocent grin, Theo reassures Helby that he's confident everything will turn out fine. He steps forward resolutely, his boots sinking into the lush grass. Confronting the powerful horse, Theo calmly expresses his unwavering confidence. The horse thief's associate is shocked, her face betraying doubt as she questions his assurance. The horse's eye glimmers ominously, showcasing its fierce and wild strength. The employee persists with her warning, stating the horse could easily shatter bones with a kick. Gina, however, winks with steadfast belief, insisting everything will be fine as long as Theo is there. Helby observes the unfolding scene, admitting her doubts despite Gina's unwavering faith. Her gaze sharpens as she concentrates, crafting a silent, threatening message for the horse. With a predatory glare, she vows to dismantle the creature if it dares to act. The chilling threat is issued just as the unsuspecting Theo approaches the beast. Her eye widens, radiating an undeniable killing intent that exudes power. The horse's eye mirrors this overwhelming force aimed directly at it. In an instant, Theo is affectionately stroking the now docile horse, calling it cute. The rest of the group stares in sheer disbelief at the sudden, miraculous transformation. The stable hand is astonished at how the previously wild horse has been so effortlessly calmed. Theo continues to pet the horse, which has become completely gentle in a heartbeat. Gina and Saria note that animals seem to have a fondness for Theo, calling it a form of magic. While being affectionately nuzzled, Theo clarifies that he doesn't actually possess any magic. Helby watches this interaction with a soft, knowing smile, quietly accepting what's happening. A gentle blush colors her cheeks as she observes Theo's natural charm disarming everyone. She reflects that while she knew animals liked him, she never anticipated this level of affection. The horse, completely enchanted, licks Theo's hand, its tongue hanging out in pure bliss. Helby's expression twists into one of intense jealousy, fuming that a mere horse receives such affection. She laments that this situation also eliminates any chance for them to ride together. Her possessiveness flares as she declares she won't allow the horse such closeness with Theo. With the horses ready, the group turns their gaze toward the city walls, prepared for their journey. Gina excitedly points ahead, announcing that it's finally time for them to set off. Concerned for the horses' well-being under their combined weight, Theo expresses his worries. He glances back, a blush creeping onto his cheeks as he sees his companion approaching. Helby suddenly appears behind him on the same horse, announcing they will ride together. Just moments ago, the stable was a scene of calm preparation. The horse dealer's quaint home stood quietly before the chaos erupted. A different horse suddenly bolts, startling the entire group into a frenzy. The stable hand apologizes profusely, explaining that this horse is usually their most docile. Syria thoughtfully observes that it's natural for a horse to flee from Helby. A sinister aura surrounds Helby as she explains that horses instinctively sense her danger. The group realizes that at this rate, Helby will be the only one without a mount. Theo turns to Helby with a worried expression, calling her name to catch her attention. With a deep blush, he earnestly asks if they should share a ride on the same horse. Helvy's face bursts into a bright blush of shock and joy at his sincere proposal. A quick decision is made for them to ride together on the now tamed horse. Helby settles in behind Theo, reflecting that her original plan had been a bit different. She concludes that this arrangement is acceptable too, as her goal of clinging to him is achieved. Theo stands frozen, blushing intensely from the unexpected close proximity. Helby considers that straddling the horse would let her embrace him even more closely. She imagines burying the back of Theo's head completely in her chest. She decides against it, thinking Theo would be too embarrassed, so she rides sideways. She rationalizes that she must stay close to maintain her balance in this position. A trembling Theo asks if she's all right and not at risk of falling off. With a bright, joyful grin, Helby shares how safe she feels because of him. Theo breathes a sigh of relief, and Helby is pleased he trusts her innocent story. She acknowledges that her impeccable balance would never allow her to stumble. Even if she were to fall, she thinks, not a single bruise would mark her. Theo stands in silence, overwhelmed by how close they are to each other. His thoughts spiral, captivated by her soft form and the delightful fragrance she exudes. Helby leans closer, murmuring that she shares his happiness with their arrangement. She invites him to explore her body a little more, her tone low and playful. He gasps as she snuggles in, his heart racing wildly in his chest. Her gaze softens with affection as she whispers how incredibly cute he is. They softly call each other's names, their faces nearly touching in the moment. Their lips hover just a breath away, the atmosphere thick with romantic tension. Gina shouts at them to hurry up, frustrated that they'll never leave if they keep flirting. Startled, they spring apart, caught in their private moment by their friends. They profusely apologize to their friends for delaying everyone with their antics. Flustered, Theo suggests they should really get moving to begin their adventure. Helvi gently grips his chin, tilting his face toward hers with a determined expression. Theo's wide, surprised eyes lock onto her unwavering, affectionate stare. She captures his lips in a passionate kiss, leaving him to emit a muffled gasp. The kiss is fervent and intense, their silhouettes blending in the intimate moment. She pulls back slightly, eyes still shut, a pleased blush coloring her cheeks. Their friends are taken aback that she kissed him despite being told to stop. Helvi clarifies that she did it specifically because they tried to interrupt her. With a confident wink, she declares that interruptions don't sit well with her. Serious yet amused, Gina shakes her head at her friend's boldness. Gina mutters in annoyance, cursing under her breath at the display. As they ride, Gina sighs, noting it's clear the two will flirt the whole trip. She teasingly strokes a blushing Theo, wishing she could be doing that instead. Syria watches, thinking Gina has completely misread the situation. Helvi confides in Theo that she can use magic to lighten her body. She smirks slyly, thinking she doesn't need to make a big deal out of it. Cheerfully, she tells Theo she's counting on him to manage the horse from now on. Gina admits she wanted to ride with him, but Helvi insists there's no issue. With a decisive motion, Helvi raises her finger, asking if they can finally leave. Then she joyfully announces that it's her and Theo's honeymoon, shocking their friends.